Hey, everybody, welcome back to the CEA Week 7 Collegiate Esports Association. How are you doing? I am joined by one Master Dulk.
What's up, everybody?
Coming out of retirement.
It's been a long time.
It's been a
very
spell.
long time.
Yeah.
I think the last Starcraft 2 cast I've done was like 3 to 4 years ago, checking the VODs. But for those who don't know, I used to do a lot of commentary back in the Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Storm days. Then I sort of transitioned into being behind the scenes doing a lot of production. So I've done a lot of NA StarCraft, just not in front of the camera. I wasn't talking, but I was the one calling the cameras and doing the switching. So it's exciting to be in front of the microphone again.
It's exciting to have you here. And we got some good matches coming up today. By the way, you are a bit of a guru behind the the desk. I know you were responsible for the WESG production, which was pretty cool. But focusing on today's matches, Collegiate Esports Association. So we got 4 matches between the Championship Series and the Collegiate Series. First match is going to be between Starkiller and Riser, going to be a ZVP. I'm not 100% sure what these two guys' records are, but they are definitely contenders to make a deep run into the playoffs. So this could very well be a round of 8, round of 4 match between these two. So this could be a bit of a preview for the playoffs coming up. Two very, very good players. Definitely a little bit more well-known in the NA scene as opposed to anywhere else, but still extremely good players nonetheless.
Yeah, and all the matches we're going to be playing today are best of 5s. And like you mentioned, we have 4 matches today. 2 of them are not going to be the collegiate matches. The other 2 are actually going to be Clan War style in Pro League format of the corporate league, also known as the Championship League, and that's going to be having the 2 Amazon teams playing against each other. Amazon Pain Force versus Amazon Alexa. That's a little bit of a large company kill, I suppose, or a team kill internally. And then after that, we're going to be having the Red Hatlings versus Microsoft's team. I'm not super well versed into the players that we have across those teams, but I mean, just from the caliber of the company, I imagine that the larger the company, the stronger your players are going to be.
Expectations are high. They're definitely playing for that Christmas bonus right now for sure. Company pride on the line. I've actually had the pleasure of casting 3 of the 4 teams that are up right now on the championship side.
Cool.
The one team that I have not cast is one of the Alexa teams. But I know for a fact that both of those teams are undefeated. So there's a lot of pride on the line right here.
Who gets to keep their score going into the next match for is this the final week or is it 1 week after?
I believe this is the second last week for the Championship Series. It is the last week before playoffs for the Collegiate Series. So a lot of very important matches happening right now.
Yeah, and being able to keep your streak going into the final week of the corporate series, that obviously will change a lot as to how you're going to be playing in the next week. As there's going to be a lot of banter between the 2 teams, I'm sure, since they know each other from working at the same company. But if you lose, then it's like, damn, we could have been the ones undefeated for the whole regulation season, but now we're stuck.
Yeah. To echo the importance of the playoffs, by the way, our last match, which switches back to that collegiate series, has potentially some very important playoff ramifications. So the 2 players that are going up against one another are both 4-2 in their records, and it is very possible that they are playing for a playoff spot. It's a little bit murky. There's a lot of players, so top 16 isn't entirely decided, but the difference between a 5-2 record and a 4-3 record is going to be very important when looking for those outlying playoff spots.
Always trying to play for the better seed, always trying to, obviously everyone's trying to play to win, but having that better seed does make it a bit easier. Makes, not necessarily guarantees you a better run, but it does make it obviously a much stronger case for making it further into the playoffs.
Absolutely. Well, you don't want to play against Maru or Dark in the GSL in the first round.
For sure.
Same thing that you don't want to go up against Silky or Antis or one of the guys that's heavily favored to win the whole thing. Because that's potentially the difference between you making it all the way through or up to the round of 4 or getting stomped out in the round of 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, using the GSL analogy, you could also end up with Scarlet versus Rogue where you decide to be playing against the former champion and then just 14 pull twice and then just win.
Just YOLO.
It could always happen, but Such is the nature of Starcraft.
Oh, it's a brutal beast. You go from champion of the last tournament you played to going home with a round of 24, and such is the nature of the beast. But it's also why we love it. We're masochists. But I think. Well, one thing before we get going, want to say a big thank you to, of course, Toby from Shopify.
Of course.
Adding a ton of sponsorship to the Collegiate League, allowing these players to get a really nice little prize pool that's going to make a big dent in their student debt. But seriously, really huge thank you to Toby from Shopify sponsoring this Collegiate League and really helping these players a ton. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Toby's been doing a lot in the StarCraft 2 community, especially recently, and it's always good to see, giving back to the community that, you came out of, because I know Toby used to play a lot of Brood War, dabbled in StarCraft 2 as it came out, and it's always cool to see these people coming back with all the money. Let's do some cool stuff. So
yeah, it's
exciting
freaking awesome. Just laying it on the table right there. He doubled the prize pool of Home Story Cup.
Yeah,
the last live one. Just he's like, yeah, this is cool. Like,
yeah, let's just
awesome.
Let's just do some
Thanks,
dope stuff.
It's really amazing.
Yeah. I think we've got our first match ready to go.
Yeah.
Going to be Starkiller versus Riser coming in here. Again, this is best of 5.
Yes.
So it's more of an extended series, not the MLG extended series of the past, but the series feels a bit more extended as it is best of 5 compared to the best of 3 that most tournaments normally play.
I've always preferred the best of 5 because it allows you to get a lot more cheekiness going on. In a best of 3, you're always a little bit hesitant to cheese really any game.
Right.
Because if you cheese the first game, you may have just given your opponent your opponent a free win, and then they suddenly have a free hand against you.
Yeah.
Whereas best of 5, going down 0-1, it's not good. You don't feel good about that, but it's not really a bad thing. And sometimes it opens up a weird scenario where you can cheese twice in a row. You can cheese the first game and then cheese again the second one, and it just kind of turns into this like weird thing. And they're like, oh crap, he's going to cheese a third time, and then you do, and then they're like, what's happening? Like you're kind of left in this this weird scenario.
Yeah. But obviously having that extra adaptability is also super important, being able to think through what your opponent's going to do and also adjusting on the fly. Best of 5, it's game and sport agnostic. The more games you get to play, the easier it'll be to
mix things up.
Yeah.
Yep. And the more beneficial.
For sure.
Yeah. Whereas, you can't really play pure macro in a best of 5 unless you have different ways of doing it. If you have like mech, battle mech, bio, like as a Terran player, for example, you can definitely do some other stuff. But it's not.
You really got to get creative, especially with the 2 players that we have coming up here, Protoss and Zerg. It's a bit. You need to be a bit more varied in how you're playing to be able to really make it through the whole best of 5.
Yes, and these 2 players are creative.
That's
very much
to hear.
So. Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit once we get into the game. We are going to be loading it up right here. First map is going to be Simulacrum. And to talk about that a little bit more, Starkiller, one of the most unconventional NA players, right up there with Cats. And Riser, a little bit more rigid in the way he plays. He really loves DT drop. But we'll talk about that a little bit more.
You want to turn the names off as well?
Yes.
All right.
And we have spawning down in the bottom right position. It is the purple Zerg player, Starkiller. Sorry, Teal Zerg player. I looked at the creep.
It's all good. And over in the top left position, we have the actually purple Protoss player. He is Riser.
And tell me about the universities these 2 players are from. We have, I believe, actually, you know what? No, not off the top of my head, but that's okay. We have a gateway opening coming down from Riser. Riser, definitely one of those players that is more likely to go for that sort of thing. As I was alluding to before, he very much likes his DT drop style. And of course, you're not going to be going into a cannon rush for that kind of thing. On the other side, we have Starkiller, who is stranger to things like proxy hatches
Gotcha.
or anything weird like that.
And seeing as this is a best of 5, there is a lot of potential to be able to bring out those sort of cheeky builds. But and speaking of cheeky, we got a nice spray coming out over
come
at
on,
the mineral
bruh.
patch.
Just going for that mineral harassment. Maybe focus a little bit too much on the spray because he actually let those minerals get mined.
Yeah.
Not a big deal, but it prohibits the ability to kind of just mess with your opponent, which is such a dominant thing in the current way ZVP is played.
Yeah, coming back into Legacy of the Void after quite a while of mainly just sticking to Brood War and focusing on production, Legacy of the Void now really has just so many of the little things that have to add up for you to be able to really take control of the game. So, maybe at this skill level, it's okay to let a couple things pass by here and there, but the more of all of those little things, like getting your mineral harass done or keeping your timings on point, is really what lets you take the lead.
Yeah, certainly. Something to note here, so we have an Adept opening coming out from Riser, a little bit of a chrono boost on that, and no Warp Gate starting up, and that is going to lend towards, Starkiller can see that, by the way, and that is going to lend towards this Stargate opening. So maybe playing away from his own tendencies, knowing that Starkiller is one of those kind of players that if you play the same way against him, he's going to figure out a counter strategy and he's going to employ it.
Right.
In fact, these guys have a history at Cheeseadelphia where Riser was having an absolute tear through the lower bracket, and then he ran into Starkiller with the same build against Zerg players, and then he ran into Starkiller, and Starkiller just hard blind countered it. And that was the end of the run.
Gotcha. We've got an Oracle coming out here from the Stargate for Riser. The Adept was not able actually to get in and do very much. It also wasn't even able to get into the main with the Shade. So not too much in terms of scouting information, only really just saw that the natural exists, but he also did not see that the third is going up here for Starkiller. Lair coming out right now. And do you think that Starkiller is going to be expecting this Oracle to be coming in fairly quickly?
That is a really good question. So seeing the Stalker, normally you see double Adept in this scenario, and that's kind of what tips you off. Otherwise, it's not really determined. You don't know for sure. And he does not have any Spore Crawlers up to defend this. He does have a second Queen at the natural, kind of getting a little bit lucky with what just happened there. The fact that Riser went towards that third base meant that Starkiller had the opportunity to get his queens back into a good position, and he was able to deflect that Oracle before it could get any damage done. Really, killing 2 larvae is not a big deal. Oh my goodness, getting to the main base, though, is a big deal with these lings, and that's going to allow him to pick off one ling, forces his opponent to turn on his Oracle again, loses another probe here. Oh my goodness, 3 probe kills.
Third coming in. This Zergling being left is just left in the main mineral line. This is actually a fairly large problem. We've got 20 more Lings coming out behind this for Starkiller here, and he's also got a Nidus network coming in. This could be a fairly large problem. There's not a lot of vision in the main base of Starkiller currently, which that's not a super great idea.
Oh man, and the fact that Riser is building a 4th Oracle right now, that is not going to help him very much at all. Oh, and I love this. A little Ling drop to go in tandem with the Nidus Worm. So if he Nidus is right here, oh no, he's actually going to Nidus into the main, and he's going to use the Ling drop to defend this, and there's going to be a ton of Queens popping out. I don't see any way that Riser can deal with this. He has so many more workers than his opponent, which is great.
And it's only just coming in now, and he's had no vision of that whatsoever. All the Zerglings are coming in. We've got 5 Queens coming in behind this too. The Creep Tumor's going down, and the entire main mineral line already has to get pulled away. Riser only has a couple of sentries and some Adepts to deal with this, but with all of those 5 Queens there, I don't think that's even enough, and we're going to see that the main Nexus is already going down here because of that.
Yeah, he has no choice but to sack this. I was just going to say, he needs to defend the 3rd Nexus, though, and it's actually fully exposed. These Zerglings are going to pick off so many of the probes that went down there. Meanwhile, Queens get a little bit far forward. One of them does get picked off for free, but no force fields coming down, and the Oracles are just not enough to deal with these well, maybe.
There's 2 Oracles remaining now.
Yeah.
All the Queens have gone down. The Transfuses were good, but not good enough, unfortunately. And we've got GG coming out. Starkiller going to be taking game number 1. And, I think really the main problem with that was not seeing the Nidus. And obviously letting in those couple Zerglings in earlier was a large part of it. But if he was able to see the Nidus and be able to deal with that quicker, I think it would have gone a lot better.
Yeah, I think the decision to sack the main at first was good. Well, obviously it was good. It was really no choice once Anidas got
Right.
up. He
had a third behind it for sure too. So.
But losing all those probes at the third was actually the nail in the coffin because we saw that the army supplies were pretty similar up until that point, but it was all those workers going down at the third, and there was just nothing to keep them alive. Starkiller really running a clinic on a greedy riser, I would say.
Yeah, it was a very methodical game, and also being able to deal with that early Oracle in game number 1 helped a lot because that allowed Starkiller to get in even further with those couple Zerglings.
Yeah.
And, obviously not losing any drones is always an excellent thing to have happen.
Yeah, especially when your opponent commits to, it wasn't just 3, it was 4 Oracles in that game.
Yeah.
That was a lot of Oracles, and definitely overdoing it on that one. But we'll get into game 2 here pretty shortly on Nightshade, and we'll have to see if Riser can turn things around here. Definitely Starkiller gaining a really severe mental upper hand in this series to start things off.
That was a very, like you said, greedy build coming out of Riser, and it's, when you go for stuff like that and it doesn't work, it's always a little bit tough trying to come back from it. We're getting into game number 2, however, on Nightshade over in the top left position with our Teal Zerg. We have winning game number 1, it was Starkiller. And over on the bottom right, we have our purple Protoss. Can he make a comeback? It is Riser.
Yeah, he's going to need to switch things up a little bit here. Really, look at what are we seeing right here? A 15 pool coming out of Starkiller?
Yeah, and he did the extractor trick to be able to get out that extra drone as well. Not something you see in StarCraft 2 very often.
Not all that often. No, this is definitely not a standard build. If you're going to go for a pool first build and try and get some lings across the map, usually you're going to do a 16 pool after an Overlord. But Starkiller, he has always marched to the beat of his own drum, and this is no different right now. Look at this. Okay.
The drone is at the top of the ramp to be able to try and... We're back.
Well, that's a whoops.
Well,
the jig's up. We're casting from replays. So this is...
The drone is at the top of the ramp here to try and prevent the probe scout from being able to see that earlier pool. Actually, no. It was just going to build a hatchery.
Yeah.
All right. Though he might be able to see here that the spawning pool is a bit faster than normal. Not sure Riser's ability to count drones here, but he is keeping that probe on patrol. We do see 6 Zerglings starting up immediately for Starkiller, and right now there's not a whole lot for Riser to be able to deal with this. Once those 6 Zerglings pop out, unless there's a Zealot for Riser, they should be able to just get straight into the main and start dealing some damage at the main mineral line.
Yeah, he has a couple options here. He can either go after that first pylon at the natural, and he does see these lings come out with this probe. That should prompt, there we go, Zealot on the way being chrono boosted out. But he didn't really respond to this build very much upon scouting it at the beginning. And Starkiller, I think at this point, he is going to be able to run by and get in. The fact that no probe came down to try and finish the wall.
The Zealot's just popping out now, but those Zealots are already into the natural. He is doing a good job by going straight past the Zealot into the main mineral line, as there's nothing at the natural to be able to attack right now. So we see he's getting into the main mineral line. The probes are starting to get pulled. Not a lot of damage here so far, but we'll have to see how the micro works out.
Yeah, 2 probes already going down. Oh, big surround on those lings. That is very good for Riser. That last ling that was chasing down the probe and did ultimately kill it, now legs its way into the base. And, well, he's just going to scout what Riser actually already showed him, which is a Stargate opening. To me, that's... I don't know. I'm not fond of showing your tech for free like that. And unless you're going to defend the build absolutely perfectly, which he did not. He got that Zealot and then still lost 2 probes plus the scouting probe. I'm not
Not the
not a
greatest
huge
position
fan.
to be in. But, you know, going with that Stargate. Oh, that Zergling's actually still in the base. He's going to see that we've got the Chrono Boost on the Stargate as well for what can be assumed to be an Oracle.
Yeah.
And in fact is. With that Oracle coming out and being seen, we've got Spore Crawlers coming down already from Starkiller. It's going to be fairly easy for Starkiller to be able to hold this, and we even have an extra Spore Crawler going down at the natural as well, just to make sure that the Oracle can't run away.
Yeah, he's building that so we can walk that over to the third, I do believe. But for the first little bit, it will act as a nice little zoning tool. Something else that's important to note about that Zergling staying alive for as long as it did is that it forced the Adept to shade after it, I believe twice, which meant that the Adept could not be coming across the map, could not count the drone count. Now, Starkiller is not going for an all-in right now, but if he were, Riser wouldn't know about it until right about now. Very nice drone pull right there from Starkiller. That was clinical. And not only does he do damage to that Oracle and take none of himself, that's wasted energy on the Oracle.
Yeah, and we saw that all the shields got depleted already, and not being able to deal any damage, not ideal, but obviously not losing the Oracle is very important. We do see that the third is now up. The Spore Crawler did get walked over, as you had mentioned, and the robotics facility is coming up, but we already have a Roach Warren on the way for Starkiller, so I feel like that robotics facility is not really going to be able to do too much. Do you think he's going to be going into Colossi or Immortals for this one?
Usually you tend towards Immortals. That's a little bit tricky to say. The fact that there's no third base coming down just yet, he could be frightened of the potential of something that's very common on this map, actually, where you walk your queens across the map and do a push up and through the natural. If they take the forward base, then it's great for the Zerg. Yeah. But even if they take this base, it just because of the way the paths work, it's a little bit tricky to deal with. Well, it looks like 3 Oracles did get into the third base, and they were able to pick off a couple of drones. Only 2 drones.
Yeah.
It's not
a lot of damage, but obviously, the Spore Crawlers had been up for a while. They're in pretty good positions as well, so the only real way that they're going to be able to kill some drones is, one, either by making a ton of Oracles, like we're going up to about 4 now, so we may be able to start killing off some drones even with the Spore Crawler there, or if you can catch some drones as they're moving from base to base. These 4 Oracles are going to be coming in here to the natural. The Queen is going to go down. Spore Crawler almost getting the 1 Oracle, but does pull it back just in time. But, really only the 1 Queen. Did actually get a couple of drones as well.
Yeah, I got a couple of those drones on that gas.
But being able to poke in here and there is, that's still good. Not losing the Oracles is really the important part here. Just not having the resources go to waste. As the longer these Oracles stay alive, he can use the Revelation just to keep an eye on things. And we did see that already earlier as he did cast his Revelation on the entire main. We have some Zerglings at the third of Riser. Did get a couple of pro kills. Will not get the third.
Nice save right there. This is very annoying, by the way, from Riser. He has effectively cut off the natural and third base from one another, and there's not enough queens to kind of force those Oracles away and prevent a safety bridge. Oh, nice Revelation is going to see these roaches, and that may be enough to let Riser know that there's some aggression coming. Ravagers being morphed in as well. Those kind of snuck their way across the map. Looks like from the third base around where those Oracles were seeing.
Yeah, and we've got all the roaches already pushing out. Galari Constitution has finished up. The Oracles do see all of this. We did have a couple of shield batteries going down, but the sentries are outside the wall.
So exposed.
The Corrosive Vials coming down right in the middle of the hole of the wall as well, and that's going to deal a lot of damage to the sentries. The roaches are coming in. There's quite a bit of army supply here, and now going down to the third where the shield batteries are warping in, but the army is not there to be able to use those shield batteries. There's 2 Immortals here, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. There's so many roaches here and a reinforcement of Zerglings coming in. The Immortals get caught outside the wall. Really, having your sentries pushed outside the wall like that and not being able to use your force fields effectively, not going to help it out for Riser. Starkiller taking game number 2.
Yes, he did, and that was, oh man, it really felt like Riser had what he needed to deal with that, but yeah, the sentries moving out in front was such a massive blunder right there. It was a really, really unfortunate mistake for him. Honestly, it would have been better if he'd killed his own gateway to let his whole army out at once, but 4 almost full energy sentries just facing down an army of like 20 roaches and 5 ravagers. It's a bad time.
Yeah, and plus also, too, getting pushing through that wall then created another kind of choke point where his sentries were then stuck inside his own wall. The Corrosive Biles hit all of them.
I think it hit 2 or 3 of them.
It hit the 2 that were stuck in the wall.
Yeah.
And that removed all of the shields and brought the health down to half. So that means it only took 2 taps from a Roach to kill them off. And as we saw, that fight was fairly quick. Just not a great position to take that engagement from, really.
No, and that all comes from the fact that Starkiller kind of snuck that attack across the map without his opponent really realizing. If he had known, if he was able to, figure out what was going on, if he'd seen those Ravagers morphing, he could have had his units out front. He could have had some shield batteries out front of his natural expansion protecting his third. Because he knew that an attack was coming. He was building shield batteries at the third. But those don't help you.
Wasn't aware that it was going to be coming straight for his natural. The third, as soon as Starkiller saw the shield batteries warping in at the third, he killed the couple shield batteries that were warping in. Didn't care about the last shield battery because there was no cannons there. There was no actual units there to be able to attack. Just go back to the natural, keep pushing the objective that was existing, and not getting distracted by the third base that existed. Because if he killed the entire army, which he did, then Riser could
pretty
do
much
nothing.
game. And I really want to give kudos to Starkiller for sneaking those Roaches off from the third base that he knew wasn't under surveillance. And that's championship level play right there. Like that's the kind of thing that wins you those gritty series. And he's now pushed his opponent to the brink. Riser's got to figure something out. This 4 Oracle builds, it's good, but he's got no more life. He's got to find a way to turn this around. And I don't know, Starkiller, he's got too many tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, and like I was mentioning in the middle of game 1, it's all the little things that really kind of push the envelope for one player to the next. And as we saw with the shades getting wasted early, the sentries in a bad position, these are all things that add up. You can get away with 1 or 2, but when you have like 3 to 4, that's when it starts to really take place. But we're going to see if Riser can bring it back in game number 3. It looks like it's going to be on Everdream, and we're going to be loading up into it now.
Yes, we are. As you said, will Riser be able to mount a comeback here? This is his last life. He's got to find a way. Or is Starkiller's cerebral play going to put the nail in the coffin? And finally end things. I say finally, but this has been a pretty efficient series coming out of Starkiller.
Sure. And we're loaded up on Everdream. We're going to be getting into it. In the bottom left corner, we have our Teal Zerg player. He is Starkiller. And over on the top right of Everdream, we have our purple Protoss. Trying to bring it back in this best-of-5 series, it is Riser.
Yes, it is. And this all kind of started from that early game scenario where Starkiller did a kind of an off-meta build, and Riser scouted it, and he didn't really respond to it in a timely fashion. I think ideally you would want to, since he showed the Stargate anyways, you would want to get that zealot out in time to block the wall, and then maybe just build a second gateway in the wall. Like if you can block those lanes out, it's worth a little bit extra investment. What are we seeing from Starkiller right here, though? This is looking like a cheeky drone right here. Oh, okay. This was double hatch. He is now going to go for a hatch block at the This is now 3 hatch before pool.
Is he going to be keeping that hatchery up there, or is he just going to try and get it to delay the natural as long as possible and then cancel it?
You are looking to delay as long as possible with this. So normally the Protoss player would pull anywhere from 5 to 6 probes and chrono boost out a Zealot. In this case, Riser is not getting the Zealot, and he has pulled 8 probes to deal with this. Now, this should be enough to out DPS the healing of the hatchery. But here is the problem. Creep is there, and you can now build an evolution chamber, and this is going to buy even more time.
And Riser's actually pulling probes off from killing the evolution chamber, which is making it take even longer for Riser to be able to deal with this. The evolution chamber is almost on its way out, where it does get canceled successfully. Drone also makes it out. The Nexus gets dropped down finally, but that was a solid 35 seconds delayed.
Yes, it was. That was quite a bit of time. That was even if it's not worth it truly economically, the amount of mental damage that just did to Riser when down 2-0 in a series is absolutely worthwhile. We did see that Riser was able to prevent his gas from being stolen there, but now Starkiller, he can just be an annoying kind of bastard with this. He can be a bit of a dick, and
we've got some Adepts getting chrono boosted out, but that drone is still in the main, still really able to see everything. The Shade's going to get wasted just to be able to get rid of this drone. It is going to go down, but I think it saw the Stargate get dropped.
It has not seen the Stargate yet, but it has forced the first Shade and may force a second. No, it will not. Finally, Riser playing a little bit more mind gamey, if I may, like actually not throwing that down underneath his opponent's nose. And that's good, but that's the thing as well, is he's now opened Stargate 3 games in a row. And I feel like Starkiller is going to pick up on that a little bit. He is building 10 Lings right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's just going to try and walk these across the map and burst across. It may be just to deal with these two Adepts, as we do have 3 bases already up for Starkiller, but not a lot of... The Queens are still being waited upon to pop out. The Lings are popping out here at the 3rd. The Adept's going to shade over towards the natural. We'll hop up into the main.
Potentially they are going to cancel, but going to see what they can find at the 3rd base. But a Queen does greet them, and it will push them away, actually taking down the shields of one of those Adepts. So I want to actually make a point about what Starkiller did here that is very, very intelligent. So because he had that drone on the other side of the map, he knew that he would not need to build any Zerglings at the beginning because it would not be able to shade across the map.
Right.
So he took advantage of that, used those 4 Zerglings that he would otherwise build, instead turned them into drones. And then all at once those Adepts were coming across the map, he made 10 Zerglings in an effort to deal with those Adepts, and he was able to not take any damage and just get a little bit ahead of where he would otherwise be off the back of that drone. That drone scout, I should say.
Indeed, and as you showed us earlier, the Overlord did in fact see the Stargate, so he knows that the Oracle was coming on in. There are quite a few Queens. The Zerglings might actually kill the Stalker here. There's quite a few Zerglings. Will be closing off that wall with a building behind it. Cybernetics Core actually fully
surrounded.
Exposed.
Yeah.
Does almost get all the shields off. The Oracle does prevent the Zerglings from being able to deal too much damage. And no real damage taken on the side of Starkiller so far. And those Zerglings are still running around outside the natural of Riser.
Yeah, and they did force one of those Oracles to once again turn on its Pulsar Beam. And that's potential damage wasted. Now, of course, Starkiller didn't get anything done with these Zerglings, really killing the Stalker, forcing a pylon. It's nice, but you want a little bit more. But the fact that he was able to force that Oracle to stay home, bought himself a little bit more time, that is significant. Now, this is a little bit nice right here from Riser. Is going to be able to pick off, I believe that's...
2 drones so far.
Just 2? I think that was like 3 or 4.
I think they... There was one from earlier. And then the Oracle that came in before did kill 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So it may have been 3 here.
3 drones looks like, yeah. It's always hard to tell when they're targeting different things at different times on the gases and the Zerg players pulling off the gases. But yeah, once again, looks like this 4 Oracle build is the way that that Riser likes to play this matchup. That it feels like if there had been another Ling Nidus all in, Ling Queen Nidus, that would have been very effective once again. But as it is, these Lings getting into the 3rd base, getting a ton of damage, considering the fact that there was once again 4 Oracles over that base and Adepts very close to the mineral line. That was damage that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, just unfortunately a little sloppy from Riser. We've got the 4 Oracles coming across. The 4th base is almost finished here for Starkiller, so, you know, Riser has been able to keep tabs on quite a lot, but like in game number 1, we do have the, game number 2, excuse me, we do have the Spore Crawler that was built in advance to move over to the other base. Revelation going down on the natural, not really going to be able to see too much with it. Does see that the Evolution Chamber was down, but not much else past that. However, behind this, what hasn't been seen, I don't believe, was the Hydralisk Den. Yeah, it has not been seen. So the Hydralisk Den was completed and already has finished the range upgrade.
Yes, it has. And this is going to be a big, I believe, Hydraling bust. No Baneling Nest here, but we saw Starkiller go up to 57, 58 workers, and he just stopped building any workers at that point. He has now fully switched into army units, and he is going to be looking to get very, very aggressive against his opponent. Oh, one of the oracles going down right there. Was able to find a queen at the 4th base, but not really worthwhile to lose that. And considering the fact that Riser has seen this so late and is going for Blink. That's
not the best versus a large Hydralisk push, especially with all these Zerglings to be able to try and just add some extra DPS versus these Stalkers. We do have 6 Hydras and a bunch of Zerglings over in front of the natural for now. More Hydralisks coming in as well. And the wall was actually left open here. The Zealots moved forward. They weren't on hold position, so not going to be the greatest. We're going to see...
Oh, God, that's so many Hydras.
This is quite a few Hydralisks. The force field's not going to be able to do too much. One more coming down. Now starting to split it off and able to engage the Hydralisk bit by bit. But there's so many Hydralisks here with no real upgrades to be able to benefit behind this.
And yeah, the big important thing about going for that Blink is that he was not getting charge, and charge is so good against Hydralisks, especially against this Hydralink style. And this Warp Gate, 2 Warp Gates and a Robo are going to get powered, but it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. There was just too much army supply there.
Starkiller takes it 3-0, and that's going to be the series. Starkiller going to be getting that +1 in his points overall for the season.
Yeah, very well done. Very, very one-sided. Very one-sided right there from Starkiller, putting on a ZVP clinic. Definitely a lot to learn from that series.
And, you know, Starkiller was definitely playing very cerebral and playing with a lot of mind games, but you know, we did see Riser was just kind of dropping the ball a little bit there. In most of those engagements as natural across all 3 games, he would let his army not be on a hold position to hold the wall, but also just letting them kind of do whatever they want and move around, really taking just bad positioned engagements. And we could see in game number 3 that the force fields were not super effective. They went down. The Hydralisks were already past them. The sentries were just too far back into the army to be able to actually cast them when he wanted them down.
Yeah. Ideally, you would want to hold that ramp where the rocks are, and then force your opponents to come up that ramp, come at it from 2 sides, buy yourself more time. Because he did have important upgrades finishing. He had Blink finishing up, which, while it's not as important as that charge, especially against the Ling Hydra, that's really not exactly what you want. It's still going to be an important upgrade. His +1 finished. I think it finished before the fight, but even just getting more Warp-ins, more Immortals would have helped so much. Maybe he could have Chrono Boost out a Warp Prism, which would have been incredibly useful for repositioning your units during fights.
Yeah. It was a little unfortunate as well, because even though we had the 4 Oracles flying all over the natural in the 3rd for game number 3, the Hydralisk Den in the main was completely unseen the entirety of that game. You know, keeping the 4 Oracles together obviously adds DPS, but you know, once you start getting into the mid game, you want to start splitting them up, really just get Revelations, get Vision, to make sure you can keep tabs on what's going on and not really be worrying about drone pickoffs. Obviously go for it if you can, but at that point, at the 6-minute mark, you know, there's Spore Crawlers up. Queens are out as well. It's going to be a little difficult to be able to actually get any drone pickoffs.
Yeah. One thing that would have been cool to speak to that point is queuing up stasis wards at each of the mineral lines.
Yeah.
And you can set them up so that even if you do them like separately, you can line them up so that they'll time to hit at the exact same time, with shift queues and whatnot. And I'm sure Riser knows that, but not really taking advantage of that. Even stasis wards coming across the map could have delayed that push a ton.
For sure.
But not really using the oracles for their overall utility.
Yeah, really was just looking for them for DPS, and they don't work so well after a couple minutes into a game.
But they do provide utility all the way through that game, even as late as the super late game when it's, you know, Broodlord, Infestor, Corruptor versus Sky Toss, having those revelations on the army, so useful. So keeping them alive that whole time, which he did do a pretty good job of up until the big fight, was good, but you got to use them for what they're designed for.
For sure. But, you know, That was Starkiller versus Riser. The first game, we do have 3 more. Our next one's going to be moving out of the Collegiate and into the Championship League. We've got Amazon Pain Forest versus Amazon Alexa as our next best of 5.
Yes, we do. And once again, I want to take the opportunity to give a big thank you to Toby from Shopify for helping to make this whole Collegiate League happen. Big thank you to the CEA, the Corporate Esports Association, for running this league. It's logistically, it's never easy to run a league. You know that, obviously.
Definitely. There's a ton of different problems and situations you can run into, and just being able to keep track of so many players as there are in this league, and then also run it a second time with even more players in a completely different format. Definitely something to be commended. And obviously, like you said, Toby really helping out, providing quite a bit of prizing for the collegiate aspect.
Yeah, and as you were saying, we are going to be getting into one of the championship series. It is between, of course, as you said, Amazon, the 2 Amazon teams, both of them undefeated in this league. And it's going to be Amazon Pain Forest versus Amazon Alexa. They are fighting for that prestige of maintaining, not only maintaining the undefeated record, but of being the champion team in your own company. That's
something that you always want to strive for, you know. I don't think anyone plays StarCraft for wanting to be number 2. You're always trying to play StarCraft to be number 1. So we'll get to see, you know, between Pain Forest and Alexa, what the different play styles are like, but also, you know, because they're both from the same company, they might actually be practiced quite a bit against each other, meaning that they'll be able to see each other's play styles and play to that, developing even further levels of mind games that more so than already exist in StarCraft 2.
I think there's a very good chance of that. I have had the opportunity to cast pretty much all of Amazon Pain Forest games, and I can tell you they have a strong roster. They have a very stable Zerg player in Mr. November, low to mid GM Zerg, very standard player, very strong. They've got some cheeky Protoss players in NACL and Zest is Best. Definitely unconventional stuff, but very, very cool builds. In fact, the first player to come up here is going to be NACL, and I think based on his previous matches, he's going to have something spicy for us.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Our first game is going to be on Purity and Industry here.
Yes.
And for those unaware, this is still a best of 5, but as it's now a team-based match, what happens is that all the players pick, the teams blind pick their players for the match ahead of time, and they do get told, oh, this is what your opponent picked for this map. So all the maps were predetermined, and then the first 3 maps, the players are predetermined as well from both ends.
Yep. Exactly. So we are going to be getting into it pretty much now. And it is going to be a PVT to start things off. NACL for Amazon Pain Forest versus the Terran player Slumdog from Amazon Amazon Alexa. And we're going to be getting into it right now.
All right, loading on up. Purity and Industry again is going to be our first map here. Excited to see what NACL is able to come out. You know, based off his name, probably going to make some people salty.
With any luck, that is consistently his goal, I think. But a very, very good dude, very, very chill dude. And we are going to be getting into it right here.
Cool. Ooh, sorry. All right, coming in here on the upper 12 o'clock position of Purity and Industry, we have our blue Protoss player. He is NACL.
Representing Amazon Pain Forest.
And over at the 3 o'clock position, we have our red Terran representing Amazon Alexa. It is Slumdog.
And all right, so to start things off, we are seeing Oh, that is a very, very quick gateway coming out of NACL, as well as a quick double gas. An extremely quick. So normally you get that gateway at about 16 supply. This is an incredibly quick gateway. It is nearly done by the time the 16 supply mark has come around. He definitely cut probes to get that out, as well as those early gases. So based on this map and based on what I've seen from him in the past, I would be a little bit surprised if it were not a proxy Oracle. And his opponent, knowing what's up, look at him scouting around here. He is going to find this probe, and that is
does see the pylon go down as well.
Yeah.
Not super ideal, but as the barracks is already done, Marine's going to be popped out, and will very likely be trying to go deal with that pylon. Is looking for the probe, and he's going to be throwing down a bunker against the pylon. I do like that decision. It does make it a lot harder to be able to deal with units that are trying to deal with your proxy.
Yes, the one thing I will say is because it's a Marine, if it were a Reaper, it could jump this cliff, jump this one, and easily get into the bunker, or in the case of needing to, get out of it. But in this particular case, oh, the probe goes down. That is a big, big deal. In this particular case, though, you can't actually get that Marine back out. There is going to be that much quicker, though, because you did go Marine first. And this pylon is almost certainly going to go down. We do have an Adept being built and chrono boosted out, but I mean, don't...
There's a bunker there, too, so like it's not even really going to work if you try and drop another pylon down. It is going to go down. This Stargate is going to try and finish up, but it will be unpowered when it comes out. So it's, you won't be able to get that that Oracle he was looking to get.
Yeah, this is...
He's going to cancel it.
This is a very unfortunate situation for NACL. Slumdog really, really dealing with this well. But look at that. Undisturbed, He don't give no trucks. Yeah. He is going to go with this again. And look at this. It's going to be 2 more gateways coming down on the main, and now chrono boost on the warp gate. So NACL switching things up now.
Probably going to be going for a proxy Dark Shrine here.
That's a good question. We do see it is going to be a robotics facility and a 4th gateway. So this is going to be a warp prism, and he is just going to look to end the game off of this. On the other side of the map, Slumdog has elected to skip a...
skip his natural expansion, for now at least. Just really trying to get his production up and going. I feel like he has a good enough idea that, NACL is still going to be doing something funky here. The Adept is going to be starting to walk across the map, and a Starker did get warped in on that proxy, and then SCV will also see that the Adept is walking across the map, and also will force the Adept to shade to try and prevent any scouting. And this SCV...
This is so close. Oh, man, he body blocks it, but he misses a bit of a shot. Slumdog sees
there's... able to get into the main, sees that there is no Nexus. He's only going to see the 3 gateways, going to see the 2 gases. He does have a command center going down, is going to be throwing down a bunker right away, as well as in his main base as well. We have Cloak Banshees getting researched. That may actually be able to help quite a bit here, as a lot of the resources getting spent on just gateway units.
No, he's supply blocked. Kill an SCV. Kill an SCV. Oh, my God. He needs that tank so desperately, and he is not going to be having it. Slumdog will now see these units show up. There is not going to be a hold on the bunker. Honestly, cancel the bunker, cancel the natural expansion. Don't, your opponent is 1 base and all in. I know it's far along, but you have to... Oh, he loses the bunker, doesn't cancel it.
Another pylon going down as well to try and make it a bit quicker to get reinforcements. The Cloak Banshee actually not going to be able to... Not staying here at the main. It's going to try and go across to his opponent's base. The units of NACL will get prevented from going up into the main ramp. SCVs are pulled off the mineral line after the units have already left. That's going to be a bit more of a hit, as he's going to lose a lot more income here.
Yes, he will, and that Banshee will show up now. It does have that cloak, and it is going to go to work on those probes. Now that tank finally does pop out, and the elevator is happening for NACL. He is targeting down the tank, will take it down, but he's already lost 3 of the first 4 stalkers that got up here. The 4th one is going down. This is a painful, painful trip for the Protoss player. He is losing so much. Meanwhile, he's down to almost no workers in the main. It looks like Slumdog has done it for his team. NACL, with so much cheese, is not going to be able to take it down. Now the Banshee can cloak. Oh my God, forces the recall. And now cloaks, and will take down one of those stalkers. and there is only 5 probes remaining. Another Banshee shows up.
4 probes now that the one in the gas got killed off as well. 2 Banshees in NACL's main base. Not going to be... I'm not really sure if he can even really deal with this. There's only 5 Stalkers. The Warp Prism still is existing, and he has a couple of probes just chilling over at what should have been his natural, and he's going to try and do some long-distance mining here, but he's just trying to wait out for the energy of the Banshees to finish out so that he can kill them while they're cloaked. But, you know, Slumdog's going to realize what NACL's up to, and now is attacking the Stalkers. There's only 3 Stalkers remaining, and behind all of that, Slumdog was able to actually get his natural up and running too, so he's in a very winning position right now.
Yes, I would say unlosable would be the term I would use. This game is unfortunately extremely over. Just these 2 Banshees are going to be a little bit tricky to deal with. Now, does target down Nexus, so he does take damage on one of those, but we're talking about a Terran player that is, he even gets out with the low health one. We're talking about a Terran player who's on 2 orbitals, 2 bases, double bunker at the front. He's got multiple siege tanks. Second siege tank is about to finish up against a player that probably won't get above 15, probably won't get above 20 supply in this game again.
Well, I mean, I feel like Slumdog really should just be pushing the agenda here. He's still got his 2 Banshees. He's got 2 tanks and a ton of Marines. Now has a Raven out as well, but he's letting NACL exist, which is not the best decision. He saw everything that Slumdog had available to him. And, you know, you said it's a very unlosable position, but obviously if you don't capitalize on your advantages, you can kind of let it swing back in the favor of your opponent.
Normally I would say that, but the Protoss player is on 4 workers to literally the mules are out mining him at this point. Now this is a fun little fake out, but honestly that should have been enough to tell NACL that he has no chance in this game. And Banshees are going to come back into the main base, and this mineral line is a little bit undefended right here. It does get the Stalkers back in position, but even just losing one of these probes is 20% of his economy. Even one of the Stalkers going down. Honestly, he might just win the fight. He takes down 2 of the Stalkers for one of his Banshees, and the Observer does not come with the Stalker.
No.
And this is becoming increasingly desperate for NACL, and Slumdog. He is about to make a push that is going to absolutely end this game. There is no hope on the side of NACL, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've got 2 tanks, 2 Uda mines, and a ton of Marines, and a Raven now heading across. The 1 Banshee was still alive for Slumdog as well. These units are basically just going to push across the map and win.
Yeah,
at that point, there's not really much to be able to deal with. Just the 1 Stalker for the side of NACL. The Warp Prism is trying to float around and just distract Slumdog, but he has realized that there's not much that Warp Prism can really do here.
Yeah.
It is going to...
it's
just transforming to try and distract him, but again, the 1 Banshee is still alive and now back as a defense, while Slumdog's main army is now pushed across the map. Just a single sentry to try and win this, but with the 2 tanks and the Raven behind this, it's not really going to matter, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate to call it early, but I don't think we're calling it too early here. Now, a nice force field will buy a little bit of time, but as you said, those tanks do siege up, and even elevatoring in with the Widow Mines, and even though, oh my god, even gets the 2 sentries with the Widow Mine, and there's just nothing. He's down more than 100 supply right now, and we're going to be seeing GG very, very shortly. Well played by Slumdog.
But yeah, like you said, there's not a whole lot that can be done here. But you know what he is doing, I think, is he's trying to just delay things as much as possible. As the the whole match is not over yet. Obviously, this map has finished, but there is still further matches involved, and you know, perhaps the Amazon teammates may be in their own respective voice channels, really talking about the strategy for the second game coming up after this. So he may just be trying to delay and provide a bit of extra time for his opponent. But GG comes out, Slumdog going to be taking game number 1.
Yes, he does. Yeah. After that first proxy got dealt with, NACL was just so far behind. He'd already cut so much to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then to have it kind of fall on its face like that. The second one, if he could have been a little bit more decisive with the elevatoring into the main, maybe he could have got something done with those Stalkers. But unfortunately, just a little bit too far behind to make that happen. Was able to pick off the tank, but that Banshee on the other side of the map killed like 20 workers, and when you're on one base...
Yeah, and like the robotics facility being so far away too, the robotics facility being so far away on the other side of the map as well, making it even slower for the observer to come back across, making it harder to deal with the Banshees that had already killed so much of the economy. It was just downhill, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, that was the first map. Our second map now has 2 different players from either team. We're going to be having a PVZ this time, Mestaman versus Mr. November.
Yep.
And this one's going to be on Simulacrum.
Yes, it is. Simulacrum, of course, one of the more standard maps in the pool, as opposed to the Purity and Industry we just cast, which is very out there. Yeah, Mr. November, and funnily enough, from Amazon Painforest, we had the kind of out there player with that ACL, going with that kind of cheeky strategy of that Proxy Oracle, or at least attempted Proxy Oracle or Proxy Stargate. Could have been a Void Ray, could have been, we didn't get to see, unfortunately. But in this particular game, we're going to be seeing a much more stable player from Amazon Painforest.
Yeah, and it's going to be coming up on Simulacrum, so a much more stable map as well compared to Purity and Industry. I feel like the build that we had seen from NACL last game was very much like for Purity and Industry, since it is just Scrap Station 2. But, we're going to see a bit more of a normal game coming in here.
I think there's a good chance. I'm not familiar with Mestaman's playstyle. It's very possible that he, too, will throw some wrenches in the cog. But we'll have to see.
We're going to be coming into game number 2 here. Over on the top left, 11 o'clock position, we have our orange Protoss player representing Amazon Painforest. It's Mestaman.
Quick correction, that is Amazon Alexa.
Oh, sorry.
That is all right.
Let me... There we go. And over on the bottom right, we have our red Zerg, actually representing Amazon Painforest, excuse me. It is Mr. November.
Yes, it is. And we're going to be seeing, looks like it's probably going to be a hatch first coming out of the Zerg player. Meanwhile, low ground pylon usually does mean that gateway, and it is going to be a standard opening from both players. So nothing too crazy to start things off. No proxied, whatever. No 15 pool after extractor trick.
Yeah. So starting super calm, Probe Scout going to be coming in here for Mestaman. And, just, again, like you said, a much quieter, much more normal start to the game. We're going to have to see what builds these 2 players are going to be coming out with. The gas getting dropped in now for Mr. November.
A little bit of cheeky movement with this probe, kind of implying a cannon rush. But Mr. November, he has his Overlord exceptionally well positioned. He knows that this probe is just a fake, and it's in fact a liar, is what I would say, a bald-faced liar. But very, very good from Mestaman to represent this, and really, really cheeky, even forcing the drone to scout in the position right here. But Mr. November, he's pretty confident at this point that this is all a fake. It's all a lie. And he will confirm that when he sees the cybernetic score timing. He's going to be like, okay, you're just having a giggle. You're just having me on. I'm wise to your moves.
Yeah, and, having distractions like that having distractions like that are often very helpful in the game overall. But, like you said, Mr. November playing it straight. He's playing it smart as well, making sure that he's not getting distracted by that. His Overlord over at his opponent's natural, we'll see that the Warp Gate has not started right away, so that is going to kind of detail out that something else is going on. And that's going to be a Stargate getting dropped down in the main base of Mestaman. The natural is going to be finishing up, and we're likely going to be seeing an Oracle popping out of that Stargate.
Yeah, usually it is that Oracle first. Some players do prefer the Phoenix just to clear out Overlords, and in this particular case, that would not be a bad decision at all, since Mr. November did send that second Overlord across the map. However, something interesting from him is that he did delay his Zergling speed in order to go for Overlord speed first. And that is going to allow him to scout what his opponent's doing and potentially save one or both of those Overlords. But we do see the Phoenix first, and that is going to make it a lot more difficult for these Overlords to get away. At least one of them will go down, most likely.
Indeed, and the Adept is still just doing its shady tricks across the natural base of Mr. November. Not getting let in, though, and was not able to deal any damage at all. So very well done from Mr. November. A third shade trying to come in to see the natural, and at this point, you're just really trying to make sure that you're seeing what's going on. And the third base almost finished up for Mr. November. The Phoenix is out, and Oracle going to be coming out behind it. As you said, Overlord speed is done. It is going to make it a little bit harder for the Phoenix to deal with it, but Mester Man going to notice that the speed is in and will start pushing his Phoenix a little bit further ahead instead of letting it chase.
Yeah, I would like to have seen Mr. November actually send this Overlord back, because, of course, this one Overlord bought time.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Look at that spine. That's gruesome. It bought the Overlord time, but Mr. November did not take advantage of it. In fact, he's got a couple more Overlords that are setting up for later scouts, potentially. I kind of like this. This one can keep tabs on a potential third base. Behind this, he does start up his Zergling speed, but it is, of course, significantly delayed, but that's fine. That's fine. Something, of course, to note as well, the third base is in a little bit of a weird position, not necessarily as standard, but it does mean that you can start creep spread across the middle of the map a little bit more effectively.
Indeed. We've got a Roachhorn coming out behind this for Mr. November and his lair, but on the flip side, the Twilight Council has finished up for Mester Man. A couple more gateways getting dropped down. Zealot Legs actually going to be coming out here, and the Templar Archive, so going to be going into some Charge Law Archon here.
Yes, so this is going to be opening things. So there's two options from this point. This is going to be opening up the option of an Archon drop, and it will be that Archon drop to start things off. But with this very quick charge, you can throw down 2 more gateways and go for a pretty aggressive push with a 6-gate Charge Lot Archon.
Well, we'll have to see how it ends up playing out. The Oracle and Phoenix were trying to get across the map. 2 Queens actually were trying to deal with the Phoenix and Oracle, do actually prevent the Warp Prism from getting in. Seeing that as well, too, is huge for Mr. November here, as now he knows that some sort of drop play is coming on in. The Oracle and Phoenix were only able to kill 2 drones. Not really dealing too much damage, but he was able to keep both the Oracle and the Phoenix alive. Archon's starting to come into online here, and they will get loaded up into the Warp Prism. But again, the Warp Prism was already spotted, and there were Spore Crawlers already for the Stargate units. So I'm not really sure how effective this is actually going to end up being.
Yeah, that's actually a really big deal those 2 queens spotted the Warp Prism, because it meant that those High Templar that he wanted to morph in as Archons right here and go straight into the main base had to be warped in at home. He had to make them into the Archons, and then he had to fly the Prism back, pick them up, and then come back. So this harass is hitting about 30 to 40 seconds later than it should have, all because he accidentally led the Queens into that nice target fire on the Warp Prism, but pick up on one of those Queens. High energy Queen will get it very low. Yeah, Transfuse comes through, but unfortunately it does go down. No follow-up on the Transfuse. Another lift on another high energy Queen. Nice micro from Mesta Man. Will pull back his Archon, and he's actually going to be able to save both Archons there. So what could have been very, very good for Mr. November ends up being pretty good for Mesta Man instead.
Yeah, and that third Queen is on very low health as well. The Warp Prism is left alive completely. We've got a Proxy Spire coming in from Mr. November, really just trying to, mix things up here. The Warp Prism's still alive, going to be coming on back into the main base. Behind this, we do have Storm getting researched and transitions into Immortals. Warp Prism getting in, Archon's getting dropped, a couple of drones going to start going down, and it is just a single Queen here. It starts trying to focus the Warp Prism, but that means it's going to die. The Roach is coming on in, going to get picked right up, and just waltz on out. Tons of damage being dealt by this Archon drop, even though it did get spotted so early.
Yeah, that is pretty annoying right there. Now, oh my god, 13 mutas. The fact that Mesta Man went double Robo, which is not the standard in the matchup anymore, and straight into Storm. Well, the Storm is going to be pretty helpful, but the double Robo is not going to help for crap against those mutas, especially the fact that they are fully unscouted. Also, the vision from Mr. November is fantastic in this game so far. He has units in a lot of important places, and as well as the creep spread looking pretty nice in a lot of avenues. But it could be a little bit better, but it is quite nice. And these mutas are going to go unscouted into a completely exposed mineral line, and there's a lot of production here too.
The Overseer going to come on in, sees that there's nothing here, sees that the Forge is up, but no cannons. The Mutalisks all flying in, going straight for the mineral line, and he's going to be dealing a absolute ton of worker damage.
Yeah, this is going to be... this is going to put Mesta Man completely all in.
And that's going to be GG.
That's it. There's nothing he had to deal with the Mutas. And really nice play from Mr. November to even the series at 1 apiece.
Yeah, and that moves it on to game number 3. You know, the Proxy Spire, I think, was actually very well done because he knew that the War Prism was still left alive and going to be flying around a lot in his base. It did deal quite a significant amount of damage, but not being able to see the Spire and not being able to deal with it means that, you know, you can't really prepare for it. And we saw that exactly happen. The double robo went down, no cannons, no static defense at all, no shield batteries, no stalkers in his main base waiting, and the Templar were all completely out of position to be able to deal with those Mutalisks.
Yeah. I've always been a huge fan of stuff like that, like the Proxy Spire. It's so good. If you can keep your opponent guessing, and 13 mutas is a huge number to suddenly show up with.
And behind that, too, there was a ton of Lings getting ready as well. So once the main army is out of position dealing with the Mutalisks, the Lings can run in and deal more damage in mineral lines that the main army wasn't going to be able to defend. It was really... it almost felt like it was... almost like a build order loss, but that's not quite the right term because it was so far into the game.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't a whole lot that Mesta Man could have really done to be able to deal with that.
Well, definitely the double robo delayed his regular gateway production. Going straight into Storm put him in a situation where he wasn't going to have a ton to deal with. A ton to deal with like anti-air. Like he didn't get just a bunch of Archons to start things off. It left him kind of exposed specifically to mutas, which is so funny. When you open Stargate, you think of that as something that's safe against mutas, but it's only safe against mutas if you can scout them and you have the opportunity to build 2, 3, 4 chrono boosted Phoenix
for sure.
So that there's at least like 2 or 3 Phoenix out by the time those mutas get across the map, but there was not.
No, there was not.
There was a naked mineral line and 30, 40, 50 dead probes as that game goes on.
Yeah, but we're going to be moving on into our next game here on Nightshade. We have over in the top left our yellow Protoss. He is Zest is best.
Yes, representing the Pain Forest.
And over on the bottom right, we have the red Terran representing Amazon Alexa. It is Zero.
Yes, and Zero is... one of the probably stronger players on the entire corporate side, a 6K Terran player here, so definitely the ace player of Amazon Alexa, should it come down to that. Zest is best, a very good player in his own right. He's going to have to pull out his, all the stops, definitely going to have to pull out his best play. Also, something I want to mention is that both Mr. November and Zest is best are undefeated personally in maps in this season. I know as well, up until last week, NACL was undefeated as well, but unfortunately he was not able to take it down. And same thing this week, faltering a little bit. In fact, it came down to players basically metagaming his builds.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about extended leagues like this, where you really get to start researching your opponents, really start to play more for the player rather than like for your opponent's race or for the map, which leads to a lot of exciting things that you don't normally get to see on like ladder or in more traditional tournament settings.
No, certainly not. And this is a very quick double gas from Zero coming down here. He's going to be going straight up into a factory before expand and even walling. This is a very non-standard build and looking to be a very aggressive build at that, coming out of Zero from Amazon Alexa.
And unfortunately for Zero, he did fully wall off, but there was a probe already inside and dropping a spray right before dying.
Oh, that's funny.
Nice. He
That's
did
cute.
see the double gas before the probe got to die, so that is important information. And on the flip side, Zero did get an SCV scout in as well of his own. The Reaper going to be coming across the map to try and get some more extended information, but there is no hidden cards, at least not yet.
Not yet is the crucial thing there. We are going to be seeing a tech lab on the factory, as well as the reactor finishing up on the barracks. So most likely going to be going to a decent number of Marines and potentially a Cyclone. And now just a normal expand. This is so weird. This is like, this feels like a TBT build almost. Or like an old school like Wings of Liberty build where you get super aggressive. You like really tech up and you try and do like an aggressive 1-1-1. Oh, 0. No, that's just chilling there. He's got the starport at home. I don't know what that's for. Could be for...
Maybe for something later. I mean, maybe there's going to be... his third base is going to end up over there.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. There is a build where you go for Proxied Armory and you get very quick Widowmine Drilling Claws, which does re-enable the cloak on Widowmines after they've fired, as well as cause them to burrow extremely quickly, which is very difficult to deal with. But it looks like Zest is Best is actually going to be the one getting aggressive here with his build order choice. He's going for Resonating Glaives Adepts, which is not something you see in the matchup very often.
Yeah, and flipping things up for 0 as well, almost literally, the Starport's actually going to be taking over the Tech Lab after the first tank came out and switching into Cloak Banshee, and which makes sense because he has a ton of gas available to him since he did go for that quicker second gas. And right now, this is a little unfortunate for Zesta's Best because he went for the Twilight Council going for Glaives. He's not really going to have detection to be able to deal with these Cloak Banshees, but we already do have Stalkers and the Adepts trying to push forward at the natural. Not going to be able to do too much, and actually losing a Stalker as well, almost losing the second one too.
That is very, very costly, actually, especially since he's not going to be wanting to build more Stalkers. Now, 0 may have seen that more Adepts popped out there, and that may let him know that it's Glaives, but this looks very much like a normal Blink Stalker opening with that Robo coming down. And that Robo, of course, will give him the potential for detection against this this Banshee with Cloak that will be coming across the map. But no shield battery in the main or natural will make it a little bit difficult to deal with this still. Shield batteries, of course, very, very good against single Banshees.
Indeed, but behind this, there is still another Banshee that's going to be coming out. Adepts shading in, not going to be able to get too far. We'll end up canceling that. The Banshee coming into the natural here, no detection. There's only 2 Stalkers, and it's going to be able to get in so far. We've got 2 probes killed, going to be able to get a third. But again, without the detection here, this Banshee's kind of got free reign on this base.
Yeah, and that was a big mistake. He just started a Warp Prism, did Amazon's Zest is Best. That should be an Observer. You need that. Oh, meanwhile, Push Out will catch some of these Adepts in the middle of the map, but, oh, wow, a little bit of a miss micro right there from Zest is Best. Does pull them back initially very quickly, but then, unfortunately, lets them go back in, and these Stalkers, this is why you needed the Observer.
Yeah.
They will lose if the Banshee shoots them.
The Banshee's now run out of energy, but the main army of 0 is coming in, as well as the secondary Banshee. And, you know, this is just quite a lot of units. There was a lot of damage already dealt by the first Banshee, and it's going to be GG. 0 is going to be taking it, bringing it up 2-1 for Amazon Alexa.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising right there. That there was nothing to deal with the Banshee.
Yeah.
And that he went for the Warp Prism instead of that Observer. That really felt like...
I think he was maybe trying to just wait out the energy, because maybe he was thinking that there was only the one Banshee, which there wasn't, unfortunately. There was a second one coming on the way, because the Banshee was eventually going to run out of energy, which it did. So perhaps using the Warp Prism to try and make it a bit easier to deal with anything else that comes in, just making it quicker to move units around to deal with the Banshee. But, you know, with the main army pushing in behind that and already losing 2 Stalkers as well, it was just rough all around, to be honest.
It's a tough scenario, for sure. We are going to be getting into Game 4 here. Amazon Pain Forest on the ropes right now. Going to be really having to step things up here. And, yeah, I'm not too sure... well, I've casted a lot of their games, so I know Kisa. Unfortunately, he is not their ace player. We'll say not bad, a platinum player, but maybe not up to the caliber of the rest of the players from Alexa, or sorry, from Pain Forest. Gotcha. But everything's riding on him right now.
Yeah,
he's got to find a way to send this to an ace match for his team.
We're going to be getting into it. It's going to be on Eternal Empire. Over in the bottom left position, we have our blue Protoss player representing Amazon Payson Forest. It is Kisa. And over on the top right, we have our Lavender Terran player representing Amazon Alexa. It is Juice. What kind of juice flavor do you think he is?
That's a good question. If he was the best one, he would probably be apple.
Mm-hmm.
I
feel like since he works for Amazon, maybe it's something exotic. You know?
Like papaya.
Yeah, papaya
juice.
Or like durian juice, you know?
Durian, wow. So
I've never drank it.
I was going to say,
I don't think it would taste very good.
You're terrible. You're saying he's terrible is what you're saying.
I'm
just truly awful. Man, durians are something else.
I've only ever eaten them in Breath of the Wild. I've never eaten them in real life, and I plan on keeping it that way.
Yeah.
Because Link doesn't seem to enjoy it in Breath of the Wild. I don't imagine myself enjoying it either.
Link being the homie we all needed, checking it for us. We are seeing Kisa looks like he's going to be getting very aggressive here as well. This is a very fast gateway in Cybercore, and there
With the
is
double
a
gas
probe
behind it as well. The probe is going across to his opponent's third base, dropping a pylon.
Ooh. Channeling his inner NACL, and I think we're going to see a proxy Stargate here.
Do you think NACL was like talking to him through this, being like, "Hey, okay, go do this, do this, do this"? Like,
oh, that's a good question, but this is definitely where. This is definitely where it came from. This is inspired by NACL 100%, and he is going to be going straight into that Stargate as soon as the cybernetics core finishes. Yeah, there it is. And this is going to be a little tough to deal with. We do have a bunker coming down on the low ground, but
not going to be able to do a lot versus units that are flying, unfortunately.
Yeah, not at all.
The Reaper's going to come out, but no scout being done from Juice in this match so far. The Reaper is actually going to go straight across the map. It's not going to bother checking the third, and the Stargate's already dropped down halfway done. So far, this has gone mostly unscouted, which is not the greatest position to be in for Juice. He's not really going to be prepared for it. He's got a Marine on the way, but it's not going to do a whole... he's going to be able to get 3-4 Marines out, but with the shield battery too, I do actually like that because that means he's going to be able to keep his Oracle alive for a lot longer.
Yeah, with the shield battery, it makes me think Void Ray, actually, and it is going to be that. There is a bit of an older school build where you go proxy Void Ray shield battery, and it's very difficult to deal with. And once you turn on that prismatic alignment, you can gun down bunkers and buildings extremely fast. And Cyclones, for example. Really, the answer to this was like a lot of Vikings, and you got to hold off till then.
Not even going to be going up to the starport, though. Going for a second factory. He is flipping the factory over. The first Void Ray is out, and it's about to hop into the main base. He's going to catch the barracks in the air, and we do have a second pylon and another shield battery going down. Killing the SAV, building the second factory. I do like that, preventing the production to take even longer. And right now, we have a Cyclone coming out, but the first Void Ray is already in. It's killed the reactor on the barracks. It's going to be able to kill this barracks, too.
Yeah, this is big problems right now. The Cyclone coming out is a big deal, and especially with that prismatic alignment already being used, if he can get a lock on the Void Ray, he may be able to take that down. But already, getting that barracks very low on HP, and even these SCVs coming to repair it will be taken down. 2 of them going down. A third one getting very low, and it will go down. And a 4th one even. Finally, that Cyclone does pop out, and he is going to surround it for the repair. That's very, very good, but it's still getting DPS down. However, it does stay alive. Now, will the Void Ray get back to the shield battery? No, it does not.
But we have the second Void
Ray. Oh!
With the prismatic alignment, going to be able to take down that Cyclone with ease, and now there's nothing to deal with these Void Rays. A third Void Ray is already in production. We have units now getting warped in at these pylons, another gateway getting warped in at the secondary pylon as well for quicker warp-ins, and an Adept here as well, preventing the bunker from going up next to the Stargate. The Void Ray is in. It's going to get rid of the Tech Lab before the upgrade's even going to be able to finish with a Stalker and an Adept. And the Void Ray, third Void Ray coming in too, I'm not entirely sure how Juice can be able to hold this.
He will really struggle now. That second Cyclone does pop out, but the Tech Lab went down before he could queue up another one, and that means that there is no more Cyclones. It's just going to be this one. Now, he does lock onto an Adept, and that is good. Missile Turret at the natural will shoo that Void Ray away, but a second one coming in here. And Juice forced to tap out, and Kisa with, I think, possibly his first map win of the season at the most important time it could have ever come down, sending his team to the ace match. The hero that they did not expect, but the hero they absolutely needed.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if you've never won a single map up until this point, being able to keep it in here, to have that chance at keeping your undefeated score for the whole team, that's what matters. And that's why these sort of team leagues are always so fun, because you can see players that, you know, maybe aren't the strongest in like a best of 3 1v1 setting or best of 5 1v1 setting, but team matches are best of ones. You know, you just got to win once, and then that's it. You've done it for your team. You've gotten them a point, and that he did. Moving on into game number 5, very well done by Kisa.
Very well done. Yeah, really nailing things down for his team. And that means that both players are going to have to select an ace player. And as suspected, Amazon Alexa does choose 0. And on the other side, it looks like it is
Zest is Best going to be
Zest is Best
coming back. So it's going to be a rematch of game number 3.
Yes, it will.
And it's going to be on Everdream for game number 5 here. Getting into it, we have on the top position, we have our red Terran player playing for Amazon Alexa. It is 0.
Yes, it is.
And over on the bottom left position of Everdream, we have our yellow Protoss, a big fan of Zest. It is Zest is Best, playing for Amazon Painforest.
Yes, and this is, yeah. Oh, looks like they were discussing a remake, but nope.
Nope, okay. We're sticking with it.
Yeah, so fun fact, Zest is Best actually plays from Africa.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, always dealing with a lot of ping issues. So when you see him multitasking and he's pulling units quickly, that means he's pulling units extremely quickly. You got to really respect that kind of thing. Playing with the pig handicap, I would say.
Yeah. We've got the double gas coming out yet again here for 0, similar to game number 3. Do you think he's going to be going for the same sort of build as he did the first time, or do you think he's going to be trying to mix it up here?
I feel like he may just go for the same build. Seems like he's comfortable playing this kind of off-meta weird style. And some players just really excel with that just because they know it better than their opponents. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know really what to do in response to it, it kind of sets you up for just a tricky scenario.
Gotcha. Well, we've got the Reaper coming out now for 0. And on the flip side of this, the second gas finished up. Probe on the inside of the main base. Almost getting the SEV. Looks like he will be able to move it away. Probe actually not going to try and go in and finish it off. Supply Depot will get delayed about 10 seconds, which is pretty good. Probe going to stay over on the left side.
And he recalls it out.
Excellent.
Very, very nice play. Now we do see Zest is Best build that pylon to try and block his opponent's wall. And Zest, Perfect Zero is just like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll just wall around it. Yep. You can't destroy your own pylon. You can't delete it. That's me that gets to decide when that goes down. Yeah. Zest is Best. Meanwhile, he went Gateway, Cybernetics Core, and now he is going Twilight Council before Expand. Is this going to be for some cheeky DTs? I do wonder.
I mean, he already has that pylon in his opponent's space that he can warp in from, so Dark
Big
Templar
Scout
could do very well. The SCV is actually not going to go up into the main. Does see that the natural is very delayed, though, which is quite a bit of good information. But on the flip side, his opponent also is delaying his natural expansion just a little bit. Will actually be building his command center up in his main base to float it on over. A much safer option here, as he did see that the Nexus is not down.
Yes, that is a pretty important important scout here. Now Reaper does try and poke in once again. It is pushed away by that Stalker. There's nothing at the natural just yet, and this is going to be a blink all in. This is 2 more gateways, a robotics facility, and no expansion. Zest is Best is looking to end this game with Blink. Now, Stalker does poke up here, does get locked onto, but will not go down. And once again, it's going to be Cloaked Banshee coming out of 0.
Yeah, and we did see that the Cyclone did end up finally taking care of that pylon that was on the high ground for Zessa's best. The first couple Stalkers are going to be trying to roam around the map, trying to find that Reaper. I do like how in the main base he did create his buildings as a wall for the Reaper jump in. Does make it a lot harder for the Reaper to actually be able to accomplish much in the opposing base.
Yes, it will. Now, fortunately for... Oh, man, this Reaper is going to actually get into the main base, though. Oh,
Just walked up
and he
the ramp.
will see everything. And Zest is best a little bit out of position to prevent that. And actually even going to lose a probe here. That is very annoying. This Reaper doing work.
Yeah, drops the grenade down as well to delay a bit of mining. And that was not as planned for Zessa's best. Not at all.
Not
because,
at all.
you know, seeing the Blinkos being researched, seeing how many gateways there were, seeing the Robo up as well. So he has a pretty good idea as to what's going on here. Behind this Zero, he's going to take his natural. He's got one Cyclone and a tank, so fairly well defended against a potential Blink Stalker all in. And on the flip side, he's got his own Banshee going across the map. Cloak's about to finish up, and the detection, because this is a Blink, isn't really going to be at home. We do have a secondary observer, though. It is at the main base right now, but there's not a lot of units at home to be able to really defend against this because his first observer and all his stalkers are walking across the map right now.
This is very big problems for Zest is best, and he is going to start losing workers at the natural. Already 2-3 probes will go down, and as you said, those stalkers are all the way across the map. They are super out of position. Couple were warped in, and they will push this Banshee away, but that is big losses, and nice job on the decloak right there. And we're going to see another push out come out. Ooh, but this will potentially trigger a blink in. Yes, it will. But this is not the best map for Blink Stalkers to run into the main. Oh my god, Micro, please! Oh, he loses 3 Stalkers right there.
And
to
2 of
very
them,
big shots.
2 of them also losing all of their shields, meaning that it was very easy to get rid of another, getting rid of both of them, actually. Not the greatest engagement to be taking. Well, whereas on the flip side, you know, Zero was able to deal enough damage with the Banshee and keep it alive. So Zero's sitting really perfect. Held the all-in, dealt some damage of his own. He can kind of just chill out here and just scale up his production and tech.
Yeah, getting the third command center before adding on additional production is a really great decision given the game state here. He is very far ahead at this point, really, really massively ahead. Unfortunately, Zest is best really botching that there, that blink into the main and not being in position to deal with this Cloak Banshee. And that one Banshee from earlier did go home and... Oh no, there's a third Banshee. Okay, is it? Oh.
Oh, that Banshee, it looks like it did actually end up falling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he made 2 more Banshees then so that he can one-shot probes. But joke's on him. There's no shield battery, so he didn't actually need that.
Yeah, and, you know, the first observer is still on the other side of the map. The second observer not really near the main base here. The 2 Banshees are going to be coming in. Stalkers are not responded yet. Probe's going to get pulled.
Yeah, but already 4 or 5 workers, 6 workers going down, and even a 7th as he pops out there. Will lose one of the Banshees, but that was exceptional damage. And Zest is best has got no upgrades. He did take a 3rd Nexus, but he built a ton of gateways, and this is very much looking like an all-in from him. He is up to 8 gates on not a lot of workers, and losing those additional workers right there, he is in, once again, a very all-in state where before he just needed to get a little bit of damage and not take much damage himself. Unfortunately, he took damage and didn't do any damage to his opponent. Now, in this scenario, he needs to end the game while taking no more damage from a Banshee that is in a really uncomfortable position to deal with. He's, in fact, only mining off two probes per gas on the main base, and he's cut worker production. So he is as all-in gets for the scenario. And Terran's going to have a lot of upgrades coming online in the next minute or so.
Yeah, and, you know, like you mentioned, this is just not looking super great for Zesta's best here. He's got a lot of Stalkers. He's got a sizable amount of Zealots behind this as well. The Banshee came back into the natural, was able to kill off a couple more probes, but, you know, the Stalkers were not in the right place to be able to deal with it, and letting just even more of his economy wither away there is not the best for him.
No, it's creating a desperate situation and making it an untenable one. And he is going to now try and transition out of this. Oh, Widowmine and the Natural will get the Warp Prism extremely low. Just 4 shots from a Marine would take it down, I believe, at this point. And look at this push coming out from Zero. We're going to be having 1-1 finishing up very shortly. Stim is about to finish up in the next second or so. Actually, there it goes. And 1-1 is just another couple moments away. And I don't see any way that Zest is Best can deal with this. And Zero may be able to MVP it out for his team and take this one down, but he still has to finish the game here. But this is going to be an extremely difficult defense. Oh, Warp Prism!
The Warp Prism goes down. Not what you want to be having here. 4 tanks. 2 of them going to be sieging up, 2 a little bit staggered. And the army right now is split. It's not the best position to be engaging from. However, the Stalkers are going to be able to blink onto the tanks since the bio is so far forward. 2 of the tanks going down, but all the bio does come on back, kills all the Zealots first, and now deals with all the Stalkers. There's 2 tanks remaining. Yep, that's going to be GG, and Zero's going to be taking it, and that means Amazon Alexa going to be taking the game overall.
Yes, they will. Well played to them. Amazon Pain Forest fought valiantly, but unfortunately they were not able to do it for their team, and Zero was able to clutch it out, winning 2 maps, both of them against Estes Best, and that snaps not only the undefeated streak of the team, it snaps Estes Best's undefeated streak, and very close, almost taking it down, but just a little bit too sharp for Amazon Amazon Pain Force to deal with.
Yeah, and being able to say that you're the superior Amazon team, that's got to come with some pride, and very well done by Zero. I feel like Zesta's Best just unfortunately misread the situation a little bit. The double gas build, I think, worked very well for Zero. And on the flip side, it didn't work so well for Zesta's Best because he tried delaying that second gas to see if he can get things a little bit further along. But like you mentioned, too, the Evergreen, not the best map for the Blink Stalker. There's not a lot of room to be able to blink into and also to blink from.
Yeah.
It was helpful in the further engagements to be able to deal with the Banshees and to be able to deal with the tanks, but it wasn't the big game-ending kill that he was hoping it was going to be.
Yeah, unfortunately not. And, yeah, just a little bit too much to deal with.
Yeah.
And I think if he just used that to pick off units from the front, it probably would have been effective. But of course, playing with the ping makes it very difficult to make Blink Stalker super effective. But if he had been able to do that, maybe he can, pick away at his opponent. Doesn't take any damage from the Banshees. Suddenly we're looking at a situation where he can afford to go his own double forge and upgrades, or even when that big fight at the end happens. But unfortunately not the case. And that does bring this first corporate series to an end. We will be having another one coming up shortly after a little break, but it is going to be Microsoft versus the Red Hatlings.
Now, you said you've commentated both of these teams before?
I have, yes. Not against one another, I don't think. I think both of them against Amazon Pain Forest.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is the roster what's the roster like for these two teams?
I cannot remember, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. But we'll be getting into that in just a couple of minutes. We'll be back, so stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. We are back.
Yeah. Back from our break. We're going to
Back
be getting
from our little break.
got 2 more matches ahead of us, but for now there is one that we're going to be looking into.
Yep. It's another corporate match. By the way, I am joined once again by Master Dalk, coming out of retirement to cast a little bit of corporate esports.
Yeah, it's been fun so
matches.
far.
Yeah.
I've been liking it. It's a little weird to be like back on the mic because I'm
Yep.
like, so for those that don't know, I do a lot of like back end production
Yep.
work for the past few years, and it's refreshing, I suppose, to
Yep.
be in front of the camera again.
And also tiring. And,
Yeah, so that definitely.
It's a different kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah,
But fun.
very much so.
But yeah, we want to once again thank Toby from Shopify, as well as the Corporate Esports Association, the CEA, very much for bringing us on to do this, and Toby for sponsoring the whole league, helping it happen. Shopify, an amazing app. You should give it a try. We decided to represent Shopify Green on the stream.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've got our nice green wall behind us.
Yeah.
But yeah, our next match here, as you can see, is Red Hatlings versus Microsoft coming up.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Game 1 going to be on Purity and Industry. I guess let's just get
Pretty
on
much
into
get
it.
right into it. Yeah, why not?
Cool. All right. Starting off at our 3 o'clock location, representing Team Red Hatlings in the color red. Excellent choice. We have Zip. I like how he said GLHF and long live SC2. That's a
that's
excellent
cute.
start.
That is very heartwarming.
And over on the 12 o'clock position on Purity and Industry, our blue Zerg player in this Zed versus Zed, we have representing Microsoft, it's Grit Bear. I like how he's got Clippy too.
That is cute, right?
That's the excellent representation.
I think that's the perfect possible mascot.
Anything else like that? You know, Clippy is the only thing for anyone over the age of 15 that represents Microsoft. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you can go the try hard mode. You can go like the Windows symbol and all that jazz. But Clippy is really like you're like, all right, this is a man or woman of quality right here. We're going to be seeing hatch first from both players here. So no real surprise there. Of course, ZVZ, one of those matches that can. It has a lot of points of vulnerability and action. One of the matches that is played a little bit, I would say, more by feel for the kind of the early to mid game, as opposed to some of the matches, like for example ZVT. It's become very common for like a 1-1 double medevac push after the 1-1-1 build. Like it's very much more defined in timings and exact stuff. Now there are of course timings in ZVZ, but a lot more like you can just decide to get aggressive at any given point.
Right, and so far we've seen both these players have been marrying each other almost exactly up until right now as they decide to start talking about it, as they've differed now in terms of Overlord versus Drone.
Yeah.
But, like you were saying, it's very much by feel. It's very much so reactive and playing going with the flow. There's not a lot of diversion that can really exist in the beginning unless you get really crazy of a ZVZ.
Yeah, there's builds like the 13-12, Ling Bane all in, or you can go, of course, 12 pool. 12 pool, very, very common in the matchup, and one of the more powerful macro pressure builds. In fact, across all the matchups, it's probably the most prevalent at this point. But of course, neither player going for that, and when that doesn't happen, when they go hatch first, usually you either see a wall in at the front, with an Evo Chamber and a Roach Warren, or you see a quick third hatch, which is what we're seeing from both players. And it looks like it was 4 lings made by Zip as opposed to just the 2 of his opponent for Microsoft. And Grit Bear is going to run these lings in, and he is going to scout what his opponent's doing. We'll see the timing of the Baneling Nest. We'll see his own Baneling Nest is just a little bit faster. Oh, look, he's got the little mech Zergling, so it actually burns down there. Oh, that's so cute. Long live Stetman.
That's not
that's hilarious.
I don't think I'm ever really going to be able to get used to that.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird. Skins are very, very fun, though. I'm really glad they added them in. Both players, in fact, incorporating the Baneling Nest into their wall, which is, of course, gonna help a lot in the mid and late game for denying scouting, for preventing link run buys. It's just good to have that, and it's become very much a standard staple of a matchup.
Now we've started to see that Zip has been droning up quite a bit, actually, whereas on the flip side, Gritbear decided to go for 10 Zerglings, already making a couple Banelings as well. We do see the 12 Zerglings now coming out from Zip, so he is going to be able to have some amount of units prepared to be able to deal with this, but his Banelings are obviously going to be a bit further delayed than his opponents.
Yeah, this is kind of one of the symptoms of the matchup is you can at any given time decide to build a bunch of units and try and get aggressive. Now, of course, Banelings are the great equalizer, so it's not a matter of something like Brood War where if you have 10 lings and your opponent has 6, you win almost absolutely. It's more like if you have 30 lings and they have 4 Banelings and 6 lings of their own, as long as they're very careful with their own Banelings, they can probably indefinitely hold you off. Like, it does come down extremely, very, very much to intimate and intricate micro, but there is the option there. And that's kind of part of what makes CVZ such a crazy matchup. But after all this, we did see Zip have his drone count catapult up a little bit earlier, but now it's in fact Gritbear evening the worker count up, and ultimately they're all at very similar counts. Now Zip is floating a lot of money, and he needs to spend that.
Looks like he's got +1 missile attacks coming out, and the Roachhorn dropping down now. Whereas on the flip side, Gritbear dropped down his Roachhorn, not getting the missile attacks upgrade. So in a little bit, if Zip can keep the upgrade advantage, it will become a significant factor. Obviously, unit count pending. Right now, we've got a bunch of Zerglings coming into the third base. Not really able to do too much. There's 3 Queens and the Baneling starting to show up, so going to have to pull back there. And for now, just kind of chilling. Both of these players trying to really figure out where they're getting their footing in the game.
Yes, and we did see that that the Microsoft player Gritbear did go for a lot more drones earlier on, so he will have that little bit of economy advantage. We did see Zip slam down that D key, and he has now mostly caught up in that worker count. But it was a little bit of an income advantage for the Microsoft player for a little bit. However, once again, Zip is he's supply blocked here. Yeah. This is a really unfortunate, heavy supply block. Only building 3 overloads. He actually needs to build more because of how heavily and how long supply blocked he is. Now, of course, as you said, that +1 missile is a lot farther along. So as long as he can get himself unsupply blocked here and kind of slam out those roaches, he will take a lead here.
The Overlords are starting to pop out here. He is also going to be tacking on a few more Overlords, as you had mentioned, which will be helpful in the long run. He's going to be starting to pump out a bunch of roaches. Galal Reconstitution on the way for both players, but again, Zip having a little bit of an advantage here in terms of timing. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to capitalize on that as, once those upgrades finish up, it will be even yet again. We do have Overlord speed coming out for Gritbear, however.
Yes, we do, and that is one of those kind of advantageous things that you can have in a macro game. Very nice to be able to avoid corrosive biles from your opponent. You can patrol your overlords a lot easier to dodge. If you get overseers, it means that your scouts really can't be denied, which is of course very, very important for seeing a lurker transition, a hive transition. If your opponent's got a second Evo chamber, if they've gone for Spire, it adds a lot of utility. But we are seeing Zip getting aggressive here, and he is actually down quite a bit in workers relative to his opponent. So he's really got to make something happen here.
Does have a couple of Ravagers mixed in with his army, but on the flip side, Gritbear, because he's fighting at home, does have a ton of Queens, but only one of them going down, second one almost going down. The supply lead a little bit in favor of Gritbear, but of course he is at home. He will be able to reinforce quite fast, even though this is Purity in Industry and has a short walk. Baneling does hit a couple of roaches to lose a bit more damage, and Zip just stops in the map here.
Yeah, I think he put his units on hold position, and that is a big problem for him. He's going to get a lot of damage done to his army right now. Corrosive Biles will allow him to disengage, but that was a costly blunder right there against Zip, unfortunately.
Indeed, and now he is going to have to pull all the way back. He's going to try to get his own 4th base behind this. Quite a bit delayed compared to his opponents, which means, right now they're not really trying to go for the economy, but just having that extra larvae is so beneficial when you are trying to outpace your opponent. Right now we do have +2 missile on the way for both, and Zip is able to at least keep his pacing ahead on that aspect. But +1 Carapace is going to be finishing up pretty soon here for Grit Bear.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, the economy is a little bit unbalanced for Zip right now. He does not have anywhere near enough gas mining, and one of his gas geysers is not fully saturated, and this is going to really, really hurt him. Especially since his opponent is maxed out with a much larger economy. But this is a really, really nice run by, and he is going to gut this mineral line here, picking off the queen and all of the drones at this base. And Grit Bear did not respond at all, and he may lose this hatchery.
I think he's just looking to sack it because he has his fourth hatchery already. But 18 drones, a hatchery, a queen, that's a ton of damage. And there's a few drones popping out right now. It looks like the roaches will at least scare the Zerglings off, but that was a ton of damage and pretty much very close to equalizing the game for Zip there.
I would say definitely equalizing the game. Really, really unfortunate scenario. We are seeing a roach drop coming in from Grit Bear, so making use of that
Overlord speed.
Yeah. And he is going to be pushing in to the fourth base of Zip, as Zip is unable to deal with that drop in the main. And this choke point that he's created is a little bit too tight for his own unit to get through.
Yeah, the roach drop at just the right timing, and Zip not realizing that the main army was pushing in front of that as well. So now completely out of place, losing a ton of mining time and drones at his main base, but also losing his fourth entirely. Now the Grit Bear's army is coming all the way down to the third. There are a couple spines here already, but the corrosive biles are going to be going down. Zip's actually not going to be able to react to them at all, taking a ton of damage. The roaches are coming forward. Zip luckily just has his +2 missile attacks finished up just in time. We'll be able to push Grit Bear back just a bit, but +2 missiles finishing up for Grit Bear as well. Oh, getting a full surround. Grit Bear looks like he might just be sacking that army. He does have a ton of roaches coming out behind this, but it looks like he'll finally decide to disengage. Did end up getting enough damage to Zip to be able to re-equalize and get back to equilibrium in terms of economy. But he did lose a ton of his army relatively to his opponent. He's 9 roaches behind overall, and did also lose a couple of Ravagers in that fight. But Zip's going to be morphing in a couple more Ravagers in the middle of the map. Not sure if that's the best decision. We'll be able to get away at least.
It's not bad. This does bring him to a very scary number of Ravagers. Oh, man. He's continuing to build Lings, which I do find to be a bit of a questionable decision. This is a really nice concave, though, for Zip. And he is going to be able to chase his opponent's army back, taking a really, really nice fight here. Corrosive Biles do land on the middle of his army, though. Oh, that was very, very costly, but does get some counter Biles that were pretty good. But another set of Biles hitting on those Ravagers for Zip, and that is just too much damage. He's taken even some Roaches on an unfortunate rally. Will go down, and we did see a little bit of an opportunity for Zip. Unfortunately, not taking the fight that he needed to.
Not splitting against those Corrosive Biles really just make it very difficult as they deal so much damage when they are able to hit, and especially dealing it to such a clumped up set of units as well. As we were able to see as the fight ended, there was a ton of damaged Ravagers and Roaches, obviously losing quite a bit. And also not having that +1 Carapace in the fight compared to Grit Bear, making the Corrosive Biles even more effective. And even though Grit Bear was a little bit behind in terms of units, will obviously be able to pull it out.
Yeah, the Carapace is very nice for mitigating the damage. It's not quite as big as the +2 attack, but it does definitely make an effect on that fight. Corrosive Biles, nice. Does take the Overlord. That is, not only is that good denial, good to just kill an opponent's Overlord, but good denial of vision. And that's another advantage of having his own Overlord speed, is he can dodge those Biles should the opportunity arise. Oh, but these Roaches, oh no. That's a little bit ill-fated.
Indeed. It looks like a few of them will be able to get away, but never want to be losing units when you don't have to be. And right now, a few more Ravagers going to get morphed in. Corrosive Biles will force him to disengage.
These are lurkers, actually. These are the big tech unit, the big big Mambas in a ZVZ, they can really, really shred a Roach Ravager army in seconds if you are not prepared for them, if you do not have a massive concave. And
Burrows come in.
Oh, man. If he walks in, even one set of spines could absolutely end his day. And these lurkers are slowly and steadily pushing forward. And in addition, we have 3-2 on the way for the Microsoft player. And it looks like Zip is going to decide to just go across the map right here. And I think that's a good decision, all things considered. He just can't really contest these lurkers at this point.
Yeah, he's only just had his +1 Carapace finish up, so upgrades are finally evened out for a little bit longer. But going for a sort of base trade scenario, but with the lurkers in the long run, I feel like Gritbear should be able to hold this out. And Zip going to be disengaging from the natural. The drones did all get pulled. Gritbear losing his 4th, did also lose his 3rd, and now dropped a bunch of spine crawlers at his natural, but they might have just been a little too late.
Yeah, they were way too late here, unfortunately. And the decision to turn around and go home is, I think, the worst one he could have made, unfortunately. There is no way. Look, the lurkers are going to get at the top of this ramp, and they're going to be able to absolutely slaughter the opposing army coming up here. And he has now locked his opponent out of his own base. And I just don't see any way that you can deal with this position as Zip. Gritbear has put himself in an absolutely winning scenario. Zip is down to just 16 workers, and he is going to most likely lose everything. Now, Corrosive Biles will come down on these lurkers, will take them out actually pretty cost-efficiently right there. But the army supplies are just going to be, I think, too massively in favor of Gritbear.
Yeah. And even looking at like worker supply, Zip's down to 7 workers. He has no economy. He's lost all of his bases pretty much, except for his main base, but even that is not able to mine anymore. And Gritbear, even though... even if Gritbear loses this fight here, he's still going to be ahead in upgrades very soon, and Zip just has really nothing to work with if he does somehow hold this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, those Hydras popping out of the natural ended up being, it was a lot. It was a lot of Hydras popping out all at once, and it did help him a lot, but he lost everything, and on the other side of the map, all he really got was one of the 5 bases of his opponent.
And that's going to be GG, and Microsoft going to be taking game number 1. Zip was creating a bit of a lead for himself in terms of his upgrades, but unfortunately not able to capitalize with it. And also, I think Gritbear did actually recognize it and decided to get that double evolution chamber so that he could speed things up a little bit for himself, which is very beneficial as... in the 3rd last engagement, having that +1 Carapace, whereas his opponent did not, really did change things up there. But again, too, like we had mentioned during the game, the Corrosive Biles are just coming in and not being avoided and dealing a lot more damage than really needed to be. Yes. And coming up next, we've got our second map. It's going to be on Simulacrum.
Yes, it is.
Going to be a TVP this time.
Yes, going to be between Felicitas.
An excellent name.
And the Unknown with some funky capitalization. Very foreboding name, that one.
For the previous game, being down 1, we'll have to see if Felicitas is able to kind of bring it back in for Red Hatlings to make it a bit easier for them. But also, too, sometimes when you're down in these sort of team league situations, it does make it a bit more stressful for the player on the team that is down because, the team is riding on your back. Not so much in this game because it's only game number 2, but, if you're the one to make it 0-2 for your team, that's going to feel even worse. So there's a lot more stress going on. However, on the flip side, for the Unknown here, he might be feeling almost a little too comfortable because of the fact that he does have a 1-game advantage.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you got to be mindful of. You got to be really careful not to get complacent. And of course, Starcraft, it is, of course, a game of mechanics, a game of strategic skill. but it's also a game of mindset. It is also a game. There's a reason that so many successful StarCraft 2 players, successful Brood War players, go on to become extremely successful poker players.
Yeah.
It's because they have iron will mindsets. They are able to deal with those bad beats. So that is the kind of thing that if you're not able to deal with that, it makes the game that much more difficult. Being able to deal with that pressure is so important. And even though it's just a team league, a friendly league for charity, it's still the kind of thing that I know going from like Collegiate, Star League, all that stuff. I remember like really taking those matches seriously.
Yeah, and I mean, competition is still competition no matter what brush you're using to paint it with. So, well, we'll have to see just how competitive these players do end up getting. We're going to be loading up here really soon here on Simulacrum for game number 2. And, I feel like if you're in any of these sort of leagues, just because of the fact that it's not only you're always going to take it seriously because other people are depending on you to win as well.
Yeah, exactly. That is a big deal. Like you don't want to let the team down.
For sure.
You just don't.
And I mean, maybe if you're a Peruvian Dota player, you want to let the player down or let the team down, but I don't think any of these guys are. So we'll see, as they're clearly playing StarCraft 2 and not Dota. And as far as I'm aware, none of them are from Peru.
Oof.
But we're going to be getting into it now, into Simulacrum, game number 2 here, spawning on the 5 o'clock location. We have our red Protoss player representing the red Hatlings, also in red. I'm liking this. It's good. It is Felicitas.
That it is.
Over on the 11 o'clock position, or I suppose 10:30 is more accurate. We have our blue Terran player representing Team Microsoft. It's the Unknown.
We'll have to see what strategies the Unknown can bring. He's going to be going gas first here.
That's pretty uncommon. What do you think? What sort of options does that open up for him?
So in PvT, usually it means very fast Reaper. In TVZ, what that's going to mean is Reactor before Marine after your first Reaper, and you're most likely going to be getting a very quick set of 2 and then 4 Hellions, maybe some kind of tech build and a quick Banshees, but it's not that uncommon. But in PvT, it is pretty uncommon these days, unless you want to do something like, well, actually, there's a lot of options. You can do something like, I'm not expecting to see here, but like a proxied starport for like a Hellion drop. I freaking love that, and I think it's the most underrated build in PvT. I guess TVP, because you're doing it from the Terran's perspective, but it is so freaking good. You get 4 Hellions off of a quick reactored factory. You proxy the starport like here, and then the Hellions fly into the main base, and you kill like 20 probes, and you win the game.
Fair enough.
And it's one of the best things you can do in a best of series. Now the execution of it has to be very clean.
Right.
And it is like a very aggressive build, but it is very strong. Now we are seeing a sneaky little probe up in the top right, and I don't know if you're familiar, but recently there was something that happened.
Right on this map, in fact, we saw a probe drop down a Nexus in the main base. It looks like that's not going to be happening, though, because the probe was just trying to leave.
Yep.
Factory going to be going down. The Reaper does kill the probe, which is not the greatest because the supply depot was actually down. He could have escaped. So pretty decent start here for the Unknown, just from that. Felicitas getting his natural expansion behind it, does have his second gas up and getting Warp Gate. Chrono boosting out a Stalker and a Sentry. Not sure how well that's going to do versus the oncoming Reaper. I feel like an Adept might have been a bit easier to help deal with it.
Stalker can still deal with it pretty well. Adept is a little bit more effective, especially chasing it around the base. Once you get 2 shots, though, to start off... Oh, but he didn't move... If he'd stutter stepped the Stalker, that would have been a lot better right there. But it's still... The Stalker can still ward the Reaper away not too bad. The big advantage of that early Sentry is he's going to have a very, very early follow-up Scout to come down. He's going to be able to hallucinate a Phoenix, get that across the map quite quickly, and it still will shoot at the Reaper. You know, it can still tickle it. but definitely not as easy to deal with as for example an Adept.
For sure. The Reaper's actually going to make its second trip back into the main base. Will be able to catch the robotics facility as it passes around here. And behind this, we've got a starport coming out. What a mine for the side of the unknown. Drops the grenade, only catches one probe with it. Hallucinated Phoenix will likely be able to catch the starport timing. And actually a Viking coming out.
Yeah, that's kind of... this is super surprising.
Does he suspect a Warp Prism, perhaps? Is that why the Widow Mine's that far to the east in his base?
I actually don't know. This feels like more of an anti-Oracle build. Now, the Widow Mine will actually catch the Hallucinated Phoenix, and that's kind of nice. But I don't think it's worth... I honestly, if this were just a medevac, I'd be very, very happy with this build. But since it's a Viking, I'm very confused. Especially scouting your opponent's robotics facility, but that's another thing about StarCraft is it's not enough to just scout. You also have to respond to what your opponent's doing, and that's something that the Unknown didn't really do here. He was very much free to go for the Widowmine drop here.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he did not elect to go for that, and a little bit of a missed opportunity. Now we do see this wall in coming from Velocitas. Very much worried about the potential of a Hellion run by, and once again, that's kind of he's doing something that he should know won't happen.
Yeah,
based on the Widowmine.
Yeah, the Reaper was able to get back in again and not really see much else new. Not much has progressed, but or on the side of Velocitas's main base. But it looks like the Unknown is starting to bring it back into a bit more standard, just starting to pump out his bios, starting to get up some of his more factory units as well. Stim and Combat Shield started up. And for now, it looks like the both of them are going to lay off each other. Or actually, never mind. Third Nexus is going to be coming down for Velocitas. We'll reposition his units a little bit. I do like how his wall-in incorporates these 2 shield batteries at the entrance to the wall, as that means anytime units are passing through there, he will always have the ability to heal back up his shields. But he hasn't really been chrono boosting much of anything at the moment. He is going to be dropping down 2 Forges and a Twilight Council, likely why his chrono boosts are so saved up, because he was delaying those a significant amount.
Yeah, I will say that his probe production has been very good. He's up to a very oversaturated natural, but that means he's going to be able to fully saturate his third base almost immediately once it finishes. But I would have liked to have seen him maybe delay his 4th and 5th gateway a little bit before taking that third Nexus. It would have allowed a little bit more income here. But he will be now long distance mining with some of those probes from the natural, and that's going to help take advantage of that, I should say.
For sure.
Double Forge, by the way, as you mentioned, does start up that 1/1.
Still not really chrono boosting any of it, though, even though he has all this energy saved up. Do you think is he perhaps trying to like save some of it for a recall, maybe?
No. That is just an unfortunate mistake, I think. Could help those upgrades a lot, because Protoss upgrades do take longer than Terran upgrades.
Yeah, and
you are expected to chrono boost them.
The double engineering bay coming out from the Unknown as well, so it's not going to be a sufficient enough lead, and in fact, it's probably not going to be much of a lead at all, as the double engineering bay was right behind the double forge.
Yeah.
We do have the Templar archives coming out now, but again, really just there we go. Starting to spend his energy now off his main Nexus, getting some chrono boost in, but he still has full energy on his natural, which, if he's able to get back into those cycles of spending those chrono boosts, will be pretty beneficial if he can get ahead in his set of upgrades.
Yeah. Speaking of upgrades, we do see a very well-timed armory to go for that 2/2 for the Terran. And he is getting a very big push here, setting up on this third base. Not a lot of power units to deal with. This storm just now started, and it is not going to be close to being done in time for this. Charge will start to close with his bio units, but nice stim and pullback into this tank, and this actually might be too much to handle. Guardian Shield helping a lot, but not enough.
There's just not a lot of units here from the side of Velocitas. And like you mentioned, Storm just not really in time. This third base is going to get sacked entirely. The tank is still up, and the Viking also providing high ground vision of the main base. He might actually just go into the main base and land it to try and kill some probes while he's at it.
He could have done that, but I actually think I like the decision of just saving the army. Objective was achieved. I don't even think you're expecting to kill the third Nexus, but killing the third Nexus and as much of the army as you did, yeah. You are very pleased with that. And behind this, he starts up his +2 weapons, will start up +2 armor very shortly, I do believe. He just didn't have the minerals for it at the moment, but you want to get that going in order to maintain your lead for sure.
For sure. And that Viking did actually end up landing into the main base. It killed 5 probes.
Oh,
so
very nice. And that's through a shield battery then. So that that was
actually, he had the Viking towards the bottom, so it was just barely out of shield battery range. But he pulled all the probes had to get pulled off to be able to deal with that Viking. There was no gateway units to deal with it, so even more damage done, including killing the third base. And he's getting a third of his own, and it looks like he's going to be making another push over to the natural, and Philosophitas isn't really in position to be able to deal with that.
No, he is not. He does have his own storm finished up, and that can be potentially very, very helpful here. Just now getting energy on these High Templar that he warped in. So he does have the potential for 4, nearly 5 storms, but this is a huge army, and he needs to hit very big storms. That first one is a very big storm, though.
The second one not able to be as effective. The units are kind of all in bad locations here. A good storm over there on the right side of the army, but unfortunately only the first storm at the beginning. All of these units going to get decimated, and the probes left here as well, and that's going to be GG. The Unknown going to be bringing it up to 2-0 for Microsoft.
Yeah, a decisive win from the Unknown right there. Really smooth play coming out of the Terran player, despite kind of some funky build order choices. Sure. Really nice macro there to close it out. Like, very well done.
I think noticing that the double engineering bay coming out was very helpful, and the fact that he didn't just let his Viking go completely wasted. Getting it in, sure it died, but at least it killed some probes, and he was already very ahead because of killing the third base. So just
any additional damage is huge at that point. Nothing worse than when you're trying to recover and your opponent just backhands you, just absolutely lays into you again. And now Red Hat is down to their last life, and they need to find a way to to stay alive here.
Yeah, and it looks like map number 3 is going to be Nightshade here. We're going to be getting into it. Over on the bottom right, representing Red Hatlings, we've got our Red Zerg. It is Cyril. Is that like cereal? Cyril?
I think it's Cyril.
Cyril? Okay.
Cyril. Yeah, I think it's meant to sound like you're saying Cyril with an accent.
Gotcha.
Cyril?
Well, over on the top left, we have our Blue Protoss player representing Microsoft, who are 1 game away from taking this best-of-5 team match. It is Huin Kanze.
Yes. Oh, unfortunately, one of his probes is not mining. Ooh. That is a big portion of your economy in the early game.
Yeah, he's, I feel like that is going to come back to haunt him later. We can already see his gateway was a little delayed. Does get it back up to mining, and we'll drop his assimilator down. But behind this, Cyril, he went for hatch first. Probably
yes, he did.
Going for a third hatch, I imagine, because there's no pooler gas yet.
You will. I was going to say you'll be starting it just about now.
Gotcha.
Does go into that. You can go 3 hatch before pool, but it is definitely uncommon. We saw in one of the Collegiate series earlier, Starkiller did that against Riser. Did the hatchery in his opponent's natural, was very, very effective.
Yeah, and then switching that up into an Evo chamber afterwards as well.
Yep. And then canceling it, forcing the Adept to stay home. He was just all over his opponent in that series.
For now, both these players trying to find their footing. We'll see that the third base is not down here from Huin Kanze, and at the moment, just kind of waiting to see what really will be taking place here. We do have the second gas going down for a Protoss player, and no metabolic boost just yet for our Zerg.
Yeah, just saving up that gas income. Usually you're going to be pulling 2 of those drones off gas as you approach 100, unless you want to do some kind of all-in or get a very quick Overlord speed, but it's uncommon. and he elects to take off 2 of those drones, so not going to be seeing anything too aggressive. Most likely we'll see that third base, as you alluded to earlier.
Couple of Zerglings here. Might actually be able to kill this probe. Drops the pylon down, but
that's
not going to be able to stay up.
But he does cancel. Okay, that is important. But this probe, okay, he should be able to get it out of there. And it does heal up a little bit of his own shields. Oh, darting back in here. I don't know about that. That's a lot of sharp corners that the Lings can catch up to you with. And Adept will come in. Oh.
Will, in fact, get the aggro. The probe will make it out just barely with 4 HP. And behind this, we've got a Stargate coming out as well as a second Adept, but our Zerg player did already catch the Stargate, was able to pull his Overlord back. Adept now at the natural.
That was a nice nice shade forward, was able to cut off one of the Zerglings and make sure to confirm the kill on that. And this creates a bit of an awkward scenario where, Cyril is forced to build an extra Zergling, an extra set of Zerglings, and that's effectively 1 drone killed. It's not literal damage, but it's effective damage.
For sure, and then plus also, too, having to create dropping down the Spore Crawlers in response for the Stargate as well. Just a bit more effective damage done to the economy. The Oracle is now out and going to be heading across, and a Roach Warren getting dropped down. Spore Crawler's in pretty decent positions in both bases, so Oracle probably not going to be able to do too much damage, but the third base is up and does not have any anti-air at the moment.
That is correct. That Roach Warren is quite early for this stage in the game when you know your opponent's going Stargate. It's a little bit earlier than it probably should be. Ooh, yeah, I was going to say, I would like to see him actually target down this Spore. It will out-DPS the building, and yeah, no cancel, and that does go down, and he then gets a Larva as well as a drone, and may even be able to get another Larva if he targets it. There we go. Nicely done from the Protoss player. Queen going to lumber its way over. Yeah,
the creep not connected just yet. The Oracle going to get out scot-free, no damage done to it at all, but significant amount of damage done by it. Robotics facility and a third base now coming into play from our Protoss player behind this, and +1 weapons. So, very quickly, this could start to become a problem if the Zerg player just allows the Protoss to be left unchecked.
Yeah, that's a very, very quick forge in ZVP. You oftentimes don't see that. Ooh, wait, did he turn both on? Oh, no, he did turn both on. I thought for a second he turned just the one Oracle on, but he turned the one on, and then it immediately ran out of energy, and it was the other one that stayed on. So that was a little bit unfortunate for the Protoss player. Kind of not really playing... not really using the economy of his Oracle energy ideally. Oh, but this is nice. A little bit of harass there. Picks off 3 drones. Does take a lot of hull damage, but he gets out of there with them still alive. And ultimately, Oracles that are still alive are just as effective at shooting down at units that can't shoot up as Oracles that have full HP.
Indeed. And now, behind these 2 Oracles, there was also 2 extra Queens that were created and the Spore Crawlers. So, plus all the damage that the first Oracle has done, and now the third base going up for the Protoss. He's sitting in a pretty good position. The Zergling's trying to run back in. Unfortunately, going to get met with a wall and the 2 Oracles yet again. So going to have to run away. Still, the Zerg just not really have been able to do too much. +1 weapons is going to be finishing up around the same time that the second Immortal is going to be finishing up as well.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy what we're seeing from the Protoss right now. He's going for a lot of Adepts at a phase when Adepts are not all that effective, even with Resonating Glaives, if you had it finished up right now. And he's not even going for that. He's going for Charge. So this is... the Protoss player really needs to get across the map and get something done with these Oracles, these Adepts in order to ascertain some value from them. Otherwise, they're just kind of ineffective allocation of resources.
So War Prism's coming out. I imagine that he's going to be moving across once that War Prism's out so he can bring the 2 Immortals much more efficiently along with the rest of the Adepts. We're going to have some Zealots getting warped in here. Charge coming in, as you said. War Prism now out, and there we see the Protoss is going to be starting to move across the map, but right now, our Zerg player doesn't really have a lot to deal with this. He has 12 Roaches and 11 Lings, which won't be able to do too much because of the couple of Immortals. However, if he does stall any longer, that will obviously change, as Hydralisks are now on the way.
Yeah, Hydras will be pretty effective here. There is +1 attack on this Protoss, +2 very far away, as well as +1 attack for the Zerg. So it's going to be mostly what you see is what you get. Charge very close to finishing up, and that will, of course, improve the effectiveness of this Protoss army a lot. Oh, that's a big Ling run by coming to the natural expansion, and it is going to force a warp in and now run into the main base. Even that warp in is very helpful for the Zerg. Oh, one of the Oracles does go down immediately as it runs into this Spore Crawler, and these Immortals are a little bit too far forward. One of them does go down. Another one will get target fired, does not make it back into the Warp Prism, and now the Zerg army has cut off that entire Protoss army from its reinforcing Warp Prism and any ability to be picked up. Meanwhile, main base, a lot of units did go down. 17 drones went down during that whole thing, so that was very expensive for the Zerg, but he has effectively held it and crushed the backbone of the Protoss army. And even this Warp Prism is now moving on a creep. Oh, if he attacks it,
Hydras.
yes, it will go down just barely.
You know, the +1 weapons was beneficial, but unfortunately the charge got used up on the hatchery and the drones. These Zealots are going to try and kill off this 4th base, not going to be able to. And since the charge got used on the drones, which did end up dealing a lot of economy damage, but did lead to the Zerg army being able to clean up the Protoss army. And now we see that the Roaches and Hydras are actually just going to try and walk across the map. We'll disengage a little bit. Do like the use of the Revelation to be able to keep tabs on this for just a little bit longer. Oh. You know, being able to see where your opponent's army is obviously very beneficial. But behind this, +2 is now finished up for our Protoss player. Storm on the way, but it doesn't look like there's too much change in direction. He's just kind of he's still doing Charge Lot Immortal and adding in the Templars, hoping that the Storms will be enough AoE to finish it off, which very well can be, but I feel like Immortals just isn't the right meat for this army.
No, it's well, it's very, very helpful to have them. Mm-hmm. Especially Immortal Storm is a deadly combination, especially once you get that +2 attack. Even against Hydras, Immortals are still they're still quite cost efficient. The problem is when you don't have enough Zealots, you don't have, for example, Archons. Archons do a ton of bonus damage against Hydras, especially once you get that +2 because they get that bonus versus biological. But yeah, just now morphing some Archons in here. He elected to go very heavily into High Templar for Storm. Like he has a lot of High Templar, 7 High Templar, all with, I think, 2 Storms apiece.
Yeah. The 2 Archons behind that as well. He's starting at +3 weapons. We got Banelings getting thrown into the mix here, and it looks like he's morphing in a bunch of 14 Banelings to bust the natural wall.
Oh, I'm not a fan of that. I would have loved if he went to the 3rd, but oh god. Oh,
they actually unpower quite a bit. The Forge, the Robotics Facility, 2 Gateways, and a Cybernetics Core. They all go kill not that many probes. This could have been a very bad amount, but you know, unpowering the Forge was actually...
That's a big deal.
Yeah, he's going to be able to catch up a little bit with his +2 missile attacks that's finishing up now. He is dropping down a Spire and getting his Hive as well. So that did stall the Protoss a bit, but it looks like he's still got quite a few High Templar behind this. He is starting to get some Archons. Kind of net zero play.
Yeah, a little bit. Delaying that +3 attack is very important because right now the Zerg player is going up into Broodlords. That's what this Hive and Greater Spire is for. But so basically the Protoss wants to hit this pre-Broodlord timing. However, there are going to be Lurkers out, and of course not having +3 attack for this, ideally this push that would be coming out, well, right about now, will lower its effectiveness a lot. However, a nice little Storm to start things off, but there are, of course, Lurkers here, and +2 does make a big difference for how strong Lurkers are in terms of, well, just in terms of the damage they output.
For sure. And it looks like our Protoss player is going to disengage here. Probably the better decision than fighting on creep. A ton of Banelings are ready to go, so if he's not able to storm those, it could have devastated his army. +3 is about halfway done, so he's likely going to, if he is going to be making another push fairly soon, waiting until that's done, as +2 missiles is now wrapped up for our Zerg player. But it looks like Cyril is starting to move out onto the map a little bit more, and his creep spread is actually pretty good for being able to see a significant amount of his quarter of the map.
Yeah, this will allow him to pretty much all except for this base, well, I guess, and this base, the outlying bases, see any attack coming. Now, speaking of seeing attacks coming, the Protoss player does not see this one coming until it is very, very far across the map, and these lurkers will burrow, but they're actually kind of bungling up a little bit right now, getting the army caught up, but enough of them burrow that it will force this Protoss force away. Oh man, these banelings, ooh, just barely avoiding a massive storm.
Now, there is Revelation on those lurkers as well, so, you know, not as bad as it could have been. There's a lot of storms ready to go for these High Templar, and all of these units are super clumped up. All those storms are going to be able to hit all the army. The banelings pretty much neutralized before anything happens. The Roaches and Hydras trying to push through the wall, actually getting left to their devices in the natural there, killing the pylon yet again at that natural wall. And these lurkers, though, preventing the Archons and the Mortals and the remainder of the army to be able to help defend. And now the Roaches actually going straight up into the main, having access to the production here. Storm's going to be coming down on those lurkers, finally getting rid of them, but there's already Roaches in the main base.
Yes, Roaches in the main base getting a fair bit of damage done. Will be able to depower the Stargate, which is relevant because we are seeing a Muta switch. A very strangely timed Muta switch here. Could potentially catch his opponent very off guard here. Oh, that's a big storm on the center of the Roaches and Hydras that were in the main base. But of course, those were doomed to die. They were just going to try and get as much damage done as they could. Now, these Mutas are going to find an undefended mineral line, and that is the second time today during this cast that Mutas, around 13 or 14 of them, completely surprised a Protoss player and has kind of left their economy in tatters as a result of it. If he can recognize that there's another base over here, he can take out so many more probes. Oh, man, those High Templar are going down for free.
The Mulists are starting to move away. They're going to end up coming over towards this fourth base. There are a Templar here. They're trying to morph into Archons, but the probes are running down. There is a fifth base getting ready to go, but now the Mulists have found the probes. The Archons are finally morphed in, so he will back off for now. But there is a lot of Zerglings and a couple of Banelings as well. It looks like they're going to try and run into the natural while the Mutalists distract the main army over at the third. But luckily, Fuinkanze has recognized that this has happened quite a bit and will have a couple units here. But I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Just 2 Archons and an Immortal. So now the main army is going to have to get pulled back, and the Mutalists will be able to come in on the High Templar directly. Storm just goes down on the Mutas, but so many High Templar die to the Mutas already.
All but one of the 6 or 7 High Templar that were there. Even the Immortals going down to splash damage from those Mutas. And this is a Protoss player in shambles right now. Main base is getting gutted, and the Mutas taking care of so much right there. I don't see any way that the Protoss player can find a way back unless he can pretty much end the game right now. But to answer any potential counterattack, there's already +2 lurkers with adaptive talons ready to go on the other side of the map. We are seeing Ciro playing this out very, very well right now, very intelligently.
Fuinkaze is losing even more probes at his third yet again. The army is just non-existent to be able to deal with these Mutalists. He's trying to build a Dark Shrine behind this, but it's already spotted. And we're so late into the game that it's going to be very easy for our Zerg player to get detection. And, you know, these Mutalists, they're just raining havoc. 24 probes killed now. There's 3 observers trying to follow them around. But at this point, like you said, there's the 8 lurkers behind this, 44 more Zerglings coming in. And the lurkers are all, and some Hydras are already at the 4th base. There's no mining there either. This Protoss just really doesn't have anything that he can be able to deal with, and now with all those gateways going unpowered, he can't even warp in an army to deal with this.
No, he cannot. Even if he could afford to build one, which he cannot off of his very paltry economy at this point, he would not be able to actually produce it. As you say, those gateways are now unpowered. The mother of all Artosis pylons in the main.
Well, it wasn't an Artosis pylon before, but the Mutalists sure made it one.
But the Mutalists made it one, yeah, exactly.
We see the Mutalists are coming right back into the main again. More Banelings getting morphed in. Lurkers now moving in onto the third. The Storms are going to go down on these Lurkers, but these are some beefy Lurkers here. And quite a lot of them to that. GG coming out. And it looks like the Red Hatlings are still going to be in it for now.
Yes, they will bring one back here and send it to that Game 4. Hopefully to send it to an ace match where maybe they can call on Cyril once again and give themselves an opportunity to take this one down, maybe reverse the sweep. But, well, they're going to have to look to Mr. Sleep.
Mr. Sleep.
to do this one. Mr. Sleep.
I hope
Can
he's not
he-
sleeping while he's playing the game, because that would be unfortunate for the Red Hatlings.
That would be a little bit tricky to do that. Anyone who can play StarCraft while sleeping would be very, very impressive.
Mhm.
All right, so we are going to be getting into it very, very shortly here. It is going to be on Eternal Empire to close out this series, potentially, for the Microsoft team, or can Red Hat send
Bring
it
it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
send it to the ace match.
We'll have to see. Eternal Empire, as I like to call it in very recent times, Cloud Kingdom 2, because
Yeah, a lot of similarities between that.
Yeah.
There's always been an iteration of Cloud Kingdom. There must always
Yeah.
be an iteration of Cloud Kingdom. I don't know who decided that, but someone did,
Mhm.
and I don't agree with them. But it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just
a little samey.
a little samey. Exactly.
But anyways, as we get into it, game number 4, spawning in on our 7 o'clock position. Red Zerg playing for the Red Hatlings, trying to keep them in this best of 5 match. It is Mr. Sleep. Over on... oh, that's a cute little red hat on a Zergling.
Red Hat Ling.
On the top right, we have our blue Terran player playing for Team Microsoft, 1 game away from potentially winning this whole best of 5. It is Dodge, or DOJ.
Yeah, I guess it's DOJ. I guess it's got to be, right? Department of Justice.
I mean, that does also spell out Dodge if you do just read it. So we'll see. Perhaps at a later date, someone's going to be like, it's pronounced this way. And
Doge. Doge.
I will not accept Doge. That's not a possibility here with those 3 letters in tandem.
So we are going to be seeing a hatch first coming down from the Zerg player, as well as a gas pool coming out of the Terran. So very standard openings on both sides. Nothing really to read too much into. But, of course, the one thing to consider is that Mr. Sleep knows that his team is on its last life, so he may be playing a little bit more safely than normal, just to try and give them the best chance possible. Doesn't want to throw this one away when everything's on the line.
For sure. Right now, it looks like our Terran player is gearing up to take his second command center. He's got the SCV there, going to be dropping it down. And, you know, when you're this deep into a clan war like this, or a team match, rather, and you're playing from down, you generally don't want to play too cheesy. It's not the best location to be going for that sort of cheese, because like we were talking about earlier in these sort of best of 1 scenarios, sure, the cheese can work, but at this point, you know, most of the players know each other, and also too, if your cheese fails, then now the entire team has lost because of that. It's not a very stable scenario to try and bring the game back from. You normally want to go for those more standard builds and play a lot safer as well at that, not get too greedy.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just playing for yourself at that point. Ooh, Reaper is going to kill a drone right here in the natural. Ling's a little bit out of position. Nice pickoff for the Terran player for Microsoft. DOJ. 2 drones still on gas for Mr. Sleep. Maybe going for a quick Overlord speed after the, once he gets that second 100 gas. It's a valid way to play the matchup. It's very, very effective.
We'll have to see
and
that.
There it is.
Overlord speed coming out. Numidized Carapace, as it were. Double Hellion starting up here for our Terran player. We've got 3 factories on the way for our Terran player. That's going to be pretty heavy.
That is quite spicy.
On the metal.
Before 3rd Command Center, before Starport, anything like that, you're going straight into this heavy factory composition. This is very likely to be a quick little battle mech squadron coming out. So you get a couple Cyclones, you get some... you could potentially even get quick Blue Flame, and you just try and control the map, take care of a third base before it can get rolling. And if your opponent can't scout it, it can really catch them off guard. But that being said,
the Overlord's already on its way in, and but it actually decides to stop just barely outside of the main base. So not, unfortunately, going to be able to catch the 3 factories. One factory going to be hopping on that tech lab made by its friend, the Barracks. Starport on the way, and got another tech lab as well. And there we see it, Cyclone upgrade.
Yep, it is going to be that Mag Field Accelerator. Makes those Cyclones so much more effective against armored units. Very, very powerful. We'll see a Roach Horn coming out from Mr. Sleeve, so maybe he has done a little bit of research about his opponent, but he still hasn't seen the actual mech units here. Or sorry, the triple factory build here.
Yeah. If the 4 Hellions do see the third base going down, there is one Queen on its Losum, will be able to get past it, and there's actually no Queen here at the natural. The Hellions could be able to kill quite a few drones, as the Queens are not, they're on a lunch break or something, but 7 drones so far. These Hellions going to be able to kill a few more, up to 9 now. That is devastating for our Zerg player, and they're even going to be able to get up into the main because the Queens were all at the natural now.
This is a very unfortunate scenario for the Zerg. He is taking so much damage, and the drones are lining up, going to be taking even more massive hits. 19 drones have now gone down, and they're still not dealt with yet. We are going to be seeing... this is so much damage.
The whole economy is getting set up in flames literally just now. 26 drones killed by those 4 Hellions. They more than definitely paid for themselves. 12 workers remaining. He's going to stay in this game and try and use his larva injects to try and make as many drones as possible, but our Terran player has to be feeling amazing after that. Plus, he's got 3 Cyclones and more Hellions out already. He's going to be getting a Liberator as well. Magfield Accelerator is finishing up soon, too. Did accidentally block himself in with that command center, but, you know, our Terran player, he's got everything in his favor right now.
Oh, he is so far ahead right now. It's insane. There is almost nothing the Zerg player can do at this point, as long as the Terran player continues to macro, pretty much. This first squadron of Battle Mech is going to be almost impossible to deal with. And look at that, even making use of the Liberator to kill that little spying Overlord there, despite it having the Overlord speed. And I don't see how you keep this hatchery alive at the third. As the Zerg player, if you try and contest it, he's going to lock onto all your roaches, kill them almost instantaneously. And if you don't, you're down a third base when your opponent has got their own third command center finished, and they're ahead double the worker count.
There's only going to be 9 roaches available for this fight. Only 6 out right now. The Cyclones and Hellions have made it into the third. All the drones are going to die. The Cyclones are going to make quick work of this hatchery. The roaches are going to try and move on over, but the Battle Mech can just leave. They've already done all the work they need to do for now. The Broodlings aren't even going to be able to deal any extra damage. And like you said, the third command center already done for our Terran player. He's actually going to be building a 4th behind this too.
Oh my god.
Going to be expanding to his 3rd. He's got double armory on the way as well. This is looking excellent for DOJ.
Yeah, this is... I don't see any way that you can deal with this as the Zerg player. He just lost way too many drones in that early game. And we're even going to see, I think, all of these larvae expire. Oh, maybe not. That creep tumor will finish. Will it? Ah, he saves the creep. But, oh, God.
Roach is going to encounter the Battle Mech, not in the greatest position. The Cyclones, like you said earlier, just going to very quickly deal with those roaches. There's not a lot here going on for our Zerg player, and he's fighting off creep without Galal Reconstitution. It's about to finish up, but he's going to lose a lot of these roaches before he's going to be able to capitalize on that. And this Battle Mech just staying here at the 3rd is going to create a very awkward position for our Zerg player. He's not going to be able to retake the 3rd as much as he wants to. All these roaches are going to die to our Cyclones and Hellions here, and now the Battle Mech's going to move on forward. There's a single Queen here going to kill that creep tumor as well, and I think this might be over for Mr. Sleep.
Yeah, realistically it was over once those Hellions got into the natural, but this is just the confirmation of the kill. This is the death certificate being signed. It's all over but the crying at this point. And unfortunately for Red Hat, they are not going to be able to take down this match. Microsoft will take this one down 3-1, it looks like.
Yeah.
Hydras, as they pop out, are taken out. Even the eggs, they will get locked onto, but as they do pop out, it does break the lock on. However, these 2 roaches have just popped out. They're having a bad time against these Cyclones with Magfield.
There's the 5 Cyclones remaining, plus 1/1 for vehicles are finishing up, and Blue Flame Hellion, and now more Cyclones, tanks, and Hellions are getting pumped out behind this. The 4th base for our Terran's getting taken as well. Surprisingly, at his 3rd, he didn't actually build an orbital out of that, or a planetary. A little bit of ball being dropped there, but I mean, you know, he's already far enough ahead, but you definitely want to keep trying to get as further ahead as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, the mech, yeah. He needs more factories, basically. And of course, would really like to have... There we go. Orbital does start up.
Yep.
Look at how many more command centers, though. 2 more command centers as he's landing his 4th. And more lock-ons coming forward. These roaches are going down. The Zerg player is staying in this game, but there's just nothing he can do at this point, unfortunately.
I mean, 1/1's finished up now, too. The tank in the back as well. These Cyclones will be able to run away, and the tank will clean up for them if the lock-ons don't. These Cyclones are going to get sacked somehow, and
yeah,
Mr. Sleep will be able to hold it off for just a bit longer. The tank will actually end up... Ooh, tank might actually go down, too, here.
There is one in the back that's actually going to help enough, I think, to win this fight, though. Yeah, it will. Yep.
Yep. But like we were mentioning before, our Microsoft player, DOJ, he's been expanding like a madman behind all this. He's up to 4 bases now, while our Zerg is still only on really like 1.5. Does need to drop down a few more factories. Did do that a little bit ago. Could end up using a few more as he's floating quite a few minerals at the moment. But +2 for vehicle on the way, both in weapons and in armor. It's not looking too hot for our Zerg player.
No, not at all. And yeah, the lack of upgrades in combination with everything that's gone on in this game, it's a very sad Zerg player, unfortunately. Will take out a tank, but at the cost of a few Hydras, when you really can't afford to lose any units, and even more drones going down at the 3rd base. This is unsustainable for the Zerg.
Yeah. And, you know, I respect it. You're the last player in for your team. You want to try and do every little thing you can to try and bring it back for your team as much as you can. But, you know, we've got...
Look at the supply.
Yeah, it's more than almost triple in supply is our Terran player. 5th base, 6th base on the way as well. There's just so much going on for a Terran that our Zerg, I'm not entirely sure he'll be able to keep up with. He is finally being able to start using his 3rd mineral line because our Terran is backed off. The macro a little lacking for our Terran, but he's got a lot of tanks. 2/2s now down, 3/3 on the way. Plus there's a couple Liberators out on the map.
Oh, looks like one of them did go into the natural and got a couple kills. Another one coming into the main here.
Actually into the 3rd.
Oh, it is going to be the 3rd. I just assumed he would bypass the 3rd, but nope, going for that 3rd.
I don't think... Oh,
will take out,
drones.
And he's going to get that queen. Oh my goodness, that is so annoying. I think he might be able to hit this mineral. It's really hard to tell. It depends on what the wireframe constitutes as where that Zerg, that drone is. But there we go, finally moving in with this big battle mech force. And, well, battle mech force plus some tank support. Even the tanks alone are almost enough to win this game. And that is going to finally be that GG. And we did see Mr. Sleep trying to hold on as long as possible.
Yeah.
But DOJ was just way too far ahead from those first 4 Hellions.
Yeah, they dealt so much damage to the economy, and it's very difficult to come back from that. And the battle mech coming in later with the Cyclones preventing the 3rd from going up for so long as well. That letter was written far in advance.
Yeah, letter was written, postage was paid for. Yeah, it was
on its way through the postal system before it had even been requested.
Yeah.
But, you know, Microsoft is going to be getting that W overall over the Red Hatlings. Pretty solid match from Microsoft. They played that very well, I feel.
Yeah.
Very skilled players, looking almost a little one-sided.
Little bit. Red Hat definitely had showed some life, especially in that 3rd map. Cyril did a really, really good job. Some very nice tech switches. Was able to really peel his opponent apart. It was probably the high point of the match for them.
For sure.
Well, obviously the one map you win is probably going to be the high point, but still very well played. And that'll wrap things up for our for our championship series, the corporate series. and bring us to the second match of the Collegiate Series.
Yeah, our last match for this broadcast is going to be Timorous versus Siegfried. Timorous representing University of Texas Austin, and Siegfried representing, I believe it was, St. Lawrence College, a Canadian college, which is great for us as we're two Leafs.
Get hype. Two Leafs.
So it'll be exciting to see how this match plays out. You were mentioning that you think Siegfried is actually from the States?
I did think so, but I'm not too sure about that. I also thought Siegfried was a Protoss player, and he is playing Terran, it would seem. So
Perhaps it's a different Siegfried, but
it's very, very possible, and in fact, incredibly likely.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure.
We're going to be getting into the first game here of this is also a best of 5. It's going to be starting off on Simulacrum.
Want to preamble this. So this is a very important match, actually, with high playoff ramifications. Both of these players are 4-2. And playoff starts next week. This is the final set of Swiss bracket matches. So winner of this may go. This match, the winner of this could be the one that determines who makes it into the playoffs. And failing that, it will definitely affect seeding. So this is a very, very crucial match, regardless of the way it goes, one way or the other.
For sure. Well, we're
just about ready to get into it.
Yeah, let's get this started. Over on Simulacrum, we've got our purple Terran player representing University of Texas Austin. It is Timorous.
Longhorns.
As well, on the bottom right, we have our blue Terran player in this TVT. His name is Siegfried.
Representing St. Lawrence College.
Based out of Kingston, Ontario. Always nice to see Canadian representation. He's got some...
Big fan of Digimon?
Yep. That is a very intricate icon to have for such a small object it creates in the game.
Yeah, that is very intricate, exactly.
There's a lot going on in that one.
Oh, look at this. We're seeing a very, very quick supply depot coming out of Siegfried. And
we've got Proxy Barracks coming out.
Yep, this is going to be a Proxy Reaper almost 100%. With that gas before the barracks and that very, very early supply depot. Now, will Timorous go for a scout of his own? He does go for the safer second gas before expand here build. That does allow you to get that very, very quick factory, and it is going to help deal with any kind of double proxy Reaper build. It actually kind of the popularity of that build is what kind of shut down proxy 2-Rax Reaper from being so common in the map, in the meta. It's still... okay, no. This is going to be Proxy Marauder.
Oh. This could actually work fairly well. We have a Reaper coming out from Timorous right now, and a factory behind it. The Marauders would be able to deal a decent amount of damage. Oh.
Potentially, yes. With
concussive shells as well.
Now, that early factory is still very helpful. Just because having more units is better than having less units.
For sure.
When your opponent is getting aggressive into you. But of course, Reaper and Hellion, they are not particularly effective against against Marauders. So if you can't figure out what's going on, and Timorous has not scouted at all, it's definitely going to leave you a little bit exposed there.
He's keeping his Reaper over at the ledge towards the east side of his base, which luckily in this scenario will not be as terrible, but it will mean that he will lose those first couple shots against the Marauders once they walk up the ramp. Also going to be leaving his supply depots down. That could bite him afterwards. But I do like that Siegfried's actually waiting to get a few Marauders before pushing in, because going in with just the one Marauder will reveal the strategy entirely. This will only really work because he knows his opponent has not scouted anything.
Yes.
So if one Marauder gets scouted and then gets spotted, then Timorous will be able to react accordingly. Whereas now, with 4 Marauders going across and concussive shell done with just a Reaper and Hellion, he's not really going to be prepared very well for this. As you can see, the Reaper getting slowed quite significantly because of the Marauders.
Oh, that grenade hit everything. I want to note, though, that Timorous did not do a standard build either. He is actually doing his own very aggressive play. Did not pull off gas, and did go straight into a starport as well as a medevac, and that's going to help him a lot. Does lose his first supply depot, though.
Lose the second as well, and leaving those down was very unfortunate for Timorous, as now all of these Marauders are able to get into the base. The SCVs now having to get pulled as well. There is 3 Hellions and 3 Reapers, the medevac out as well, but these Marauders should be able to just kite a lot of these units. Nice grenade.
Big grenades.
Moving the Marauders all over the engagement, but all the SCVs have died.
Micro.
The Hellions getting picked up is very good, keeping them alive for as long as possible. It looks like these Marauders are going to get cleaned up, but there is a couple more on their way. Sorry, just one more on its way.
This is held. It was really what this came down to was the medevac. The medevac was able to keep those Reapers alive, and that was what was able to win him the game. And I want to be clear, Timorous did a build that is not normal. This is very uncommon to go for a one-base version of this where you keep all your SCVs on gas, you get that quick starport, you get that medevac. Usually what you're doing is you pull SCVs off gas and then you expand behind it and then eventually get the starport. To do this without scouting is he's got a bit of a horseshoe up his butt for sure.
And right now, the Reapers are making their way across to Siegfried's main, where there is nothing existing currently because the 2 barracks are across the map. He's trying to get out a Cyclone to try and deal with some of this. A Hellion now coming in with the medevac as well. And there is a lot of Reapers, and the Hellions as well going to be able to deal a significant amount of SCV damage here as these Reapers can kite for quite a while. The Cyclone is now out as well, locked on to the medevac. Will be able to kill it. Excellent decision as it does prevent healing and pickups for the Hellions, but so many SCVs have died. The Reapers now going to be able to kill off the Cyclone as well, and a Viking coming out. Gonna land it because that's all he's got at the moment, but there's so many SCVs dead here on the side of Siegfried.
Oh my god, that Reaper grenade just sent the Viking flying out of the out of anywhere that this could help out, and there's just no way that that Siegfried can come back in this game at this point. He has lost so many workers against an opponent that really didn't lose any and has now got a second command center 3/4 of the way done. And these Reapers alone will probably end the game. They're going to bring the supply down to a very low number.
Yeah, and behind this as well, a Liberator was created, which I do like as, well, GG coming out from Siegfried. Timorous going to be taking game number 1 quite...
convincingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was looking a little rough for him for a little bit, but, you know, he held that Marauder push very well with the Hellion medevac micro that you had mentioned during the fight, because being able to keep just any extra DPS on the field is really all he needed.
Yeah.
And also, too, being able to heal his Reapers, again, keeping extra DPS, really just delaying the Marauders. I feel like the Marauders should have tried to focus more on the production. They actually left the reactor open on the barracks. He got it very close to killing it. If he had killed the reactor, it would have made it a bit harder to deal with that push. But, you know, hindsight is 20/20.
Yes, it is. But to speak to that, I think it would have been much more valuable to have killed the reactor instead of the second supply depot.
For sure.
Would have been so much more beneficial.
Already supply blocked with that first supply depot going down. If he had killed the reactor, he would have only had 2 Reapers instead of 4. It would have been just significantly a stronger push all around.
Yeah, but realistically, it was going to be difficult to make anything happen thanks to that medevac, which was really the MVP of that push. Or, well, that defense, I should say.
For sure. But that was game number 1. We're going to be getting into game number 2 here on Nightshade. We're going into it here. We've got our Purple Terran player taking game number 1 with an excellent defense and then a strong push back afterwards. Representing University of Texas Austin, it is Timorous.
That it is.
Over on the bottom right, we have our blue Terran player. Can he bring it back? Representing St. Lawrence College, it is Siegfried.
That is a good question. That's got to feel pretty bad as Siegfried, because you feel like you've outsmarted your opponent. Oh, look at that. We're going to see a bit of turntables here coming out of Timorous, sending two SCVs across the map. And I think this one will be a Proxy Reaper. But I thought the last one was going to be a Proxy. We'll see based on whether he builds a second gas or not.
Right. And I mean, on this map, the Proxy Reaper could do quite a bit more, could be a lot more efficient because it is a bit easier to hop into the main compared to the previous map. We do have a second gas coming out from our Terran player before the barracks is finished up.
Timorous sticking on just that one gas for now, so it's hard to say. He may actually come back at his opponent with the exact same build that he was faced with, which would be pretty interesting.
The barracks are a lot farther away this time compared to on the other map, which might make it a bit more difficult.
It's going to be Reaper.
Yep. Yeah, the Reaper makes a lot more sense. The Marauders were just going to have to take. They're going to have to take a long beach stroll to be able to make it. The SEV not building the refinery yet. There we go. Drops it down finally. We do have the first 2 Reapers on their way. 1 Reaper and a factory coming out for Siegfried here, and the depot is down. Similar to last game, this is going completely unscouted, but I feel like these double Reapers might be able to deal a bit more damage to Siegfried than Siegfried's Marauders were to Timorous.
Yes, and of course, Siegfried doing what I was talking about, what you expect your opponent to do in the scenario where you pull 2 SCVs off one gas, one off of another, and you then go into expand behind this once you've started your factory. But this is a situation where Siegfried does pull his SCV, or sorry, his Reaper away quite quickly, so he doesn't lose that. Oh, but Timorous gets on top of it, targets it down, and will take that first Reaper down very, very quickly. Timorous starts up a bunker, and this is already looking very, very difficult for the Blue Terran player from St. Lawrence College.
Yeah, Timorous, he's got 3 Reapers in now. There's even more coming behind this. A Hellion and a single Reaper to be able to deal with this. Nice grenades on the Reaper, almost killing it entirely. But once that bunker is up, it's going to be significantly harder. Oh, nice dropping down to the bottom of the ramp to de-aggro the Hellion. The bunker with the high ground vision will able to kill it. GG coming out from Siegfried. Timorous going to be taking a very, very quick game number 2.
3 minutes and 1 second on that one, extremely fast, and that's that was very, very quick and decisive so far. Only about 8.5 minutes of game time in this.
He's been wanting to wrap these up quick, you know, like
he's got places to go, places to be.
Well,
and we'll have to see if Siegfried can find a way back into the series, because he is now on his last life.
Indeed. We're going to be getting into game number 3 on Everdream for this one. I'm looking forward to seeing what changes Siegfried's going to make. He obviously went for the heavy cheese and then went to more standard in game 2, but does he play for more standard? Since he's on the ropes, he could try and go for a very cheesy build just to try and irk one out quickly. We'll have to see what ends up happening here.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. He tried to cheese one, and he got cheesed, and in both scenarios he came out much the worse for wear. So I think, I don't know, I guess you try and play macro and play I don't know. You need to put a win on the board. You need to find a way. Something. Yep.
But coming into map number 3, what could very well be the final map for our purple Terran player representing University of Texas, Austin. It is Timorous. Over in the 2 o'clock position, we have our blue Terran player representing St. Lawrence College. He's on the ropes. He's got to bring it back now. It's Siegfried.
Yes, and we don't see, looks like we don't see any proxy from either player going into this one. Both players just going to be going for that gas first, and no SCVs being sent out. Now, will either of them scout, though? That's an important question, because
both games they haven't been doing that, so it's going to be important to see if, because even though they're playing a bit more of a standard opening, there is still quite a bit that they could do that is very aggressive or greedy, and not being able to get that scouting information could lead to either one of them being worse for the wear.
Well, it certainly led to Siegfried being the worst for wear in this one. Oh, okay. He is going to go in base double barracks here. So this is a build that the Chinese player Time started mucking about with and found a lot of success at the World Championship Series Grand Finals, well, BlizzCon Finals, I guess, last year. Specifically against Maru, he was able to take the first series they played against one another 3-2 in some of the most impressive foreign Terran Starcraft in history. Like, period, full stop. Like he was playing out of his goddamn mind at that point, and part of it was off of this kind of slightly off meta build that he had discovered, and it was just very, very good, and Maru didn't really have an answer for it in their first series, which was unfortunate when they played again, and I think Maru 3-0'd him.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, hate to see it.
Right now we've got Double Reaper started up here for Siegfried. These are obviously going to have to walk, or I guess jetpack across the map since they don't actually have legs. But I do like that Timorous, because he's chosen not to scout, and they have legs, but it's like super unusable. It's kind of like in Star Fox. And
they just flop around.
Yeah, they choose not to amputate them, so they get the jetpacks instead. Timorous, he's going to be keeping his Reaper at home because he's choosing not to scout. I do like that decision. He's also going to be... does bring it down to the low ground, just checks around to make sure there's nothing as natural. We'll see if he moves out completely with this Hellion. Would not be the smartest decision because, again...
No scout.
No information as to what his opponent's doing. But moving his Reaper down to the low ground is actually not as good for him because those Reapers can just hop up into the main and skip both these Hellions and the Reaper entirely.
It looks like Timorous is actually doing the exact same build that he did in Game 1, where he stays on gas, gets aggressive, gets that early medevac, and tries to, get aggressive with a ton of Reapers, a decent number of Hellions, and just a single medevac.
Behind this, Siegfried's actually not going to be pushing with just Reapers. He's building a Cyclone behind this, and I think this is an excellent adaptation because the Cyclone could lock onto the medevac and kind of prevent a lot of the sustain that Timorous had in game number 1.
Absolutely. This should, on paper, be extremely good against the build that Timorous has done. And
scouts the medevac as well, so he has some semblance as to what's going on now. He's also seen the rest of the army. He knows that he's got to stay at home, and the Cyclone is now finished. Timorous has got... He can't really choose to engage here. But if Siegfried gets caught very out of position, this could end up not so great for him.
Oh, this actually... Oh, man, that was a little bit unfortunate, the angle that the Reapers took. And a lot of them going down to big Hellion shots right there. And, yeah, just a little bit too far forward for no really good reason. And now the Cyclone is extremely low on HP.
Yeah, and he didn't end up actually locking onto anything really with the Cyclone, which is unfortunate. The medevac
nice
now going to be doing the same Hellion micro we saw in, medevac micro we saw in game number 1. Finally locking onto that medevac. Now going to be trying to chase it down. The boost from the medevac coming out will end up going down, which is good. The push is held, and there is quite a few Reapers now. So Siegfried looks like he might actually be trying to go for a counterattack. Timorous, however, is getting a Raven and has a Cyclone of his own behind this. So having an anti-armor missile or an auto turret behind this will help quite a bit.
Yes, it will. Timorous, oh my god, he's able to save his Cyclone. That is very, very big. Marines joining up here will help a ton. And Siegfried losing a couple Reapers on the rally as well. This is very, very costly for him, and Timorous is very far ahead at this point.
Yeah, right now he's got his second base almost halfway saturated already. He's got quite a few of his units still alive, and Siegfried, he's only just kind of getting up his natural expansion going. He was pretty behind in terms of his production because he was trying to cut a lot just to get all those Reapers in the Cyclone out. We do see that he is going to be getting mag field acceleration now and going to be continuing with the Cyclones. I think that is probably a good decision, as Cyclones are probably his best bet to have the DPS that he's looking for. A couple of Reapers going to make it into the base. We'll see that the third Command Center is going down, as well as quite a few barracks will get taken care of. However, we've got 3 SCVs pulled off. Oh, going to be repairing the Cyclone, but wasn't as efficient in getting to that. A little bit more lost mining time, which will hurt Siegfried in the end.
That it will, and one of those barracks had the SCV killed, and Siegfried did not put it back on. There we go, just now doing that. And yeah, important to note, you were talking about production being a little bit off here. It is very off. There's no starport. No starport, and...
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he's not going to have medevacs, not going to have Vikings, not going to have Liberators, which are, of course, important against tanks if your opponent does go for that. And
which he is.
Yeah, you end up in a scenario where they're in a good position. Liberators can help deal with that. But you just need some kind of air units. You can't really play the
Yeah.
matchup without them unless you're going very, very heavy into mech. And even then, you want air control.
And Timur's behind this as well. He's recognizing that the starport's not there. Going to be getting some Vikings out, just a couple, just so that way as soon as anything comes out from... Oh, tank going to be able to force Siegfried to disengage. But with these couple of Vikings, any air units that start coming out for Siegfried were always going to be behind, and he will be able to, really keep that air control in his favor, which is even more important for him because he does have tanks now. He's going to be needing that constant vision a little bit further ahead of the rest of his army.
I'm so confused by what I'm seeing right here. He's still building Reapers at this stage in the game, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That is a very...
There's just no DPS behind it. I'm wondering if he's if he's thinking that he's going to be able to get some sneaky Reapers in here and there and deal some damage to the economy. But even with that, he's still sticking with his Cyclones out on the map for the most part. He does have his third base up now, which will be a bit helpful. He's gotten his worker count up a bit higher. Is going to lose a Cyclone there, though, unfortunately. Finally going to be throwing down a starport as well as an armory, but we've got a couple more Vikings still being made for Timurus and expanding to his third as well. Not looking super good for Siegfried.
No, not looking good for Siegfried at all. He is behind in most measurable ways. Really, the only thing was the timing of that third base that was ahead for him. But worker count is still actually favoring Timurus, and those gases are already done. So he can mostly saturate that base. Mm-hmm. I do really like this from Timurus, by the way. These Vikings and Raven in the main base just going to be able to shut down any potential drops, which could be comeback mechanics. This siege tank has done work despite getting no kills, by the way.
Yeah, he's done a lot of
damage,
just splash damage to the units. So whenever they try and go in on the third, like we've been seeing him do every so often, it makes it so much easier for the tanks to come in. And because these Cyclones aren't getting repaired, it's like that one Cyclone is like 5 HP. It's going to be very easy to kill it. Ooh. And now we see going to be engaging here. Oh, no. And nice lock-ons on the healthier Cyclones. Grenades from the Reapers will try and slow down the Marines. Won't be able to chase them down. Only 2 Cyclones going down in that fight for Siegfried. That's not bad.
That was nowhere near as bad as it should have been. Those grenades were actually very, very big.
Yeah.
And Timurus continued chasing for a little bit. He doesn't have combat shields, and he had stemmed his units. He stopped himself, but he was very close to, stimming and grenading himself to death in a scenario when there was really no reason why that should ever be a possibility.
Yeah. If those grenades didn't exist, locking on to the healthier Cyclones was actually very good because that way the Marines were going to be able to deal with more Cyclones quicker rather than trying to focus down that one that was already going to die in one shot. But because of those grenades and Timurus really focusing on just trying to get rid of the Cyclones, not being able to split his Marines really kind of messed up the order of that engagement here. And now Siegfried's, he's starting to come back into it. He's got a lot of upgrades on the way, 2-2 for his infantry. He's got +1 vehicle weapons on its way as well. And, Siegfried's starting to come back into this.
Yeah, he's evened up the supply. Very solid macro. Big stim coming forward, but he's going to stim into tanks that are sieging up. Oh, no, I don't think this is the engagement Siegfried, but he does have more Marines. Actually, this could go very well for him, but with the
all these
auto
Vikings,
turrets, oh, man.
Yeah, the Ravens dropping a bunch of auto turrets, plus all the Vikings getting rid of all the medevacs as well. That army gets cleaned up very quickly.
That went very, very quickly from being a good engagement into a disastrous one. This was nice because he's down in upgrade timing, so he was able to fight 1-1 versus 1-1. That was by all accounts the best of a bad situation until those auto turrets came in. Until those Ravens came in and dropped 6 auto turrets and just shredded the tanks and Marines that were left over for Siegfried. Now we do see a double drop coming in from Siegfried. He is going to stim on top of this tank. Will take it out, and that's not too bad. Will get out of dodge, but he needs to boost. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Both players right now getting up to fourth base, to a fourth base, I should say. Unfortunately, no +2 armor started up for Siegfried.
Yeah, he's getting Neo Steel. I think that was a mistake.
That's a huge mistake. That's a massive mistake.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's been checking his engineering base to see how far along they are, or he's got them in the same hotkey, so that means he's just seeing that things are happening and not actually that it's Neo Steel bunkers and not +2 armor.
Which is going to be a very sad realization when he finds that out.
Timorous is now starting up his 3-3 and is now going to be taking a bit of an upgrade lead. There's +2 armor, but you know what?
I'm pretty sure it started up right after building armor, so he probably clicked building armor and then clicked on the other one. And now we see Timorous finding this drop, targets down the medevacs first, so there's no way for those Marines to escape, and that's a icing on a very unfortunate cherry.
Yeah, and we've got Siegfried going in for another double medevac drop into a ton of Vikings, as well as the Sensor Tower.
And
the Disables going to be losing
boost.
Every single one of them.
Can't drop, can't boost. That was very, very nicely done. Extremely useful use of energy.
Yeah. Siegfried is going to be taking a 5th base behind this. You know, for what it's worth, Timorous has been playing fairly passive up until this point, but it looks like he's going to be changing that. He's going to be moving out with a lot of Marines and tanks. And he's got quite a few sensor towers as well, so I'm not sure that he needs to actually keep his Vikings and Ravens at his main. I feel like he could be more active with them, you know, just trying to deal damage in his opponent's expansions. And, ooh, Siegfried is going to be not in a very bad position to be able to deal with this.
Yeah, he moves out at an extremely unfortunate timing. He will see his opponent's tanks get into range of this sensor tower, and that is actually going to leave them very, very exposed. But these Marines will now run forward and probably are going to take down this expansion.
Command.
Yeah, it's going to go down very quickly, and he can boost into the main even.
Yeah,
that's exactly
that's what he's going to do. He's going to land on top of all the production, and this Terran army is not mobile enough to be able to follow along. There's 3 starports here. He's going to be able to get the engineering base as well, keeping Siegfried even further behind in upgrades, and 3-3 is almost done behind this too. This push could end the game here.
It looks very likely to do that. 3 medevacs going down as they rally into the main base, and he now boosts and picks up and gets out of there as his 3-3 is about to finish. That was so good from Timorous, and that was very unfortunate for Siegfried.
Timorous has just been taking these like almost bad engagements and making them into amazing engagements for himself every single time, and it's really been paying off for him. And now that he's got the upgrade lead, he's going to be making a couple more orbital commands as well here behind all of this. So sure, Siegfried has had a 5th base, but you know, he lost his 4th. Now, unfortunately, Siegfried just seems to, again, not be getting orbital commands. Going to be finding the new engineering base again. Going to be losing his upgrades yet again with all these Marines. I think these Marines, the tanks are going to get cleaned up as well. These Marines are going to stim yet again. He's going to be focusing down this new command center. Going to get canceled. Going to do the same movement again into the main base. Falling onto the production here. And the Marines are killing SEVs. That's going to be GG. God. Timorous with amazing play.
That was devastating damage from those Marines. That was absolutely insane how much he did with those. That was so much work. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was like
killed 4 engineering bays.
4 engineering bays with upgrades on them, killed a bunch of tanks, killed a ton of SEVs, killed production.
Killed an orbital command and then a building one. Yeah. Killed 2 barracks in a factory. Killed 4 he killed so much with those. That's like, those are like the Band of Brothers Marines.
Yeah, seriously.
From the miniseries.
And like in that second to last engagement where the tanks were on the high ground, I think it actually worked out better that Timorous couldn't use them because Siegfried got so distracted by those siege tanks being there that he didn't even defend his 4th base or 3rd base. I forget which order he ended up expanding in. But yeah, Timorous, you know, really taking that series handily there. 3-0 sweep. Significant victory for him, and he's going to be getting onto that 5-2 score in regulation.
It was a really important match for him. I mean, he was able to take it down. Really, really well done. And solid play. And that's going to be it for the broadcast. Once again, we want to thank Shopify, Toby, so much for helping support the this whole league, making it happen. Kind of Collegiate CEA, the Corporate Esports Association, for organizing everything, having us on here. Really, really appreciate it. Super awesome. And I think that's going to bring the broadcast to a close. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching, and hope you enjoyed it. These were some pretty sick matches. I enjoyed coming back to some StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. And that's going to be it for us.
Yeah, that's going to be it for us. Yeah. Thank you very much for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful evening. And yeah, that's going to be it.
Until next time.